Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. This is Sham Kaguria. Now, before we start the discussion, please do let me know if I'm audible to you so that we can continue. Give me a thumbs up, say yes or alphabet Y, anything is okay. But please do convey to me that I'm audible to you. Done. Let's start. Let's start then. So, what we are doing, we are discussing the concept of budgeting. Correct? We are discussing the concept of budgeting, and in budgeting what we have discussed is basically what do you mean by budget, what are certain important concepts related to budget, how budget is prepared, how budget is passed, and certain deficits related to budget. As far as the economics paper is concerned, GS paper 3 economics, I would recommend to you, please be focused on the concepts related to deficits. That's a very, very important area. Please be focused on that, right? Generally, UPSC has the tendency of questions being asked from that area. After that, we started with the discussion of debt of the government. Debt of the government. Now, please understand, I've given a table here. Okay, there is a table which is given in the PPT. Please observe. Point number one, please do not by heart any number. I'll repeat it. Please do not by heart any numbers in the table. But what you need to observe is simply this. There's a term called as public debt. Yes? Please do let me know whether these terms are there in the slide. Right? Same picture that I'm discussing, whether these are there or not. There's a term called as public debt. What do you mean by public debt? How much is the total borrowings of central government? Total borrowing that has to be repaid. That has to be repaid by the center. By the center. That's very important. Why? Please understand, one is public debt. There is also a term generally you come across, the general debt. There's a term called as a general debt. Some books will use the term general debt. Other books will use the term overall debt. Now, what do you mean by general or overall debt in the context of government? In the context of the government, it would simply mean the overall debt of the central government plus state governments. The general debt or the overall debt in the context of the government refers to how much is the total debt of the central government as well as the state governments. Any problem with the second term here? Second term is not mentioned in the table, but you please do not have any kind of confusion. General debt means central government debt plus state government debt. Public debt generally refers to of central government. Central government. Now, please understand the next point. I'll discuss certain very important concepts here. Understand this very carefully. In the concept of polity, you'll come across a term called as public account. You'll come across a term called as public account. Right? Public account. Right? Have a look at this. Right? There is a term called as public account. Now, in the context of public account, let me give a very simple example. Imagine you'll open a PPF account. Have you heard of PPF? Answer now. Have you heard of PPF? Public Provident Fund. Now, please tell me, right? PPF is a Public Provident Fund. Right? Those students who are saying no, saying no, it simply shows that you people are not reading newspapers. Right? Why, sir? Why do you say I'm not reading newspaper? Please do let me know. Have you come across EPFO in the last 1 week? Let me check. Have you come across a concept of EPF in the last 1 week? Right? Employee Provident Fund Organization, EPFO. Interest rates on EPFO was mentioned very recently in the newspaper. Now, again, don't worry about all of this. Argument is simple. If you contribute to PPF, right, whose responsibility is it? Whose responsibility is it to guarantee the repayment? Let me know. Whose responsibility is it to guarantee your repayment under PPF? It is the responsibility of government. It is a responsibility of the government to guarantee the payment back to you. That is the PPF payments back to you. Right? What about employee provident? Employee provident fund, whose guarantee it is to make repayment to you? It is the government guarantee to provide repayment to you. Now, have a look at this very carefully. If government is providing guarantees of repayment, can I say it is the liability of government to repay this amount? Let me know. Is the logic okay with all of you? If it is the duty of the government to provide guarantees to the payment, government says, don't worry, I will guarantee the payment to you. Can I say this is the liability of government of India? Anybody has a problem with this? Let me add one more very important concept here. There's a term called as off budget borrowing. There is a term called as off budget borrowing. Very, very famous now. Off budget borrowing. And off budget borrowing is a type of extra budgetary resource. Extra budgetary resource. Now, what do you mean by extra budgetary resource? Can I simply say that any kind of, let's say, borrowing that the government will do out of budgeting exercise? I'll repeat the statement. What do you mean by extra budgetary? Extra budgetary means out of the budget. You are not doing anything within the budget. You are taking certain money in the market out of the budget, right? That is, this is not done as a part of budgetary exercise. Sir, what do you mean by this? Let me give a very simple example. Imagine here is government, and let's say there is an authority ABC. There is one authority under the ownership. Government of India owns the authority. And let's say this authority is supposed to implement a project, infrastructure project, whose cost is, let's say, 900 crore rupees. Understand the example carefully. Understand the example carefully. Okay. Government of India owns one authority. Let's say ABC. Sir, any example of authority? Please tell me. Is a National Highways Authority of India owned by Government of India? Let me know. NHAI. Have you heard of NHAI? National Highways Authority of India. Who is the owner of NHAI? Government of India. Have you heard of Food Corporation of India? Newspapers. Have you heard of Food Corporation of India? Who is the owner of Food Corporation of India? Government of India. Okay, now let's start. So government owns this authority ABC, and this authority is supposed to implement one project whose cost is actually 900 crore. Now, government will simply allocate, let's say, 600 crore rupees in budget. Government will allocate 600 crore rupees in the budget to this authority. But how much is the money required? How much money is required for implementation? 900 crore. Has Government of India allocated 900 crore? No. Now, what this authority will do is, this authority will borrow. Simple. This authority will borrow 300 crore rupees. And now tell me, with the 300 crore rupee borrowed from this authority, can the project be implemented? Is it possible now? Can the project be implemented? Of course, yes, project will be implemented. Now come to the most important point here. What is the concept behind it? Concept is simple. If Government of India is allocating 600 crore and the authority is borrowing 300 crore, don't you think this borrowing done by the authority will not be counted as borrowing done by the government? Yes or no? The borrowing of 300 crore is done by the authority. Is it done by the government? No, it is not done by the government. So can I say, when government borrowing will be calculated, in simple terms, when the fiscal deficit of Government of India will be calculated, this 300 crore will not be counted. Any problem with the statement? Any problem with the statement? Please do let me know. Now look at the term here. Please look at the term which is written in the top of the slides. Can I say this kind of a borrowing which is done by the entities owned by the government? I repeat, this kind of a financing, right, that is done by government owned entities, it is called as off budget borrowing. Any problem with this idea? Sir, why? What is the advantage of this? Is there any concern related to this? Point number one, because ABC is borrowing, this is the borrowing of ABC, not the direct borrowing of Government of India. Please tell me, will the fiscal deficit number of Government of India, will it be comparatively lower? Let me know. Will it be comparatively lower or not? Comparatively lower means what? Even with this 100 crore, if government of India had borrowed this 100 crore, the fiscal deficit could have been higher. All of you agree? Even if this 100 crore was borrowed by government of India, then given it to the authority, the borrowings, fiscal deficit of government of India would be higher. But now, authority is borrowing, not the government. What will happen to fiscal deficit? Fiscal deficit would be lower. And some of you might be wondering, sir, what is the importance of all of this? Why fiscal deficit is so important? Let me ask you a very simple question. Government will borrow from the market, correct? Government will borrow from market. Now, please tell me, if government of India's fiscal deficit is higher, what will happen to interest rates in the market? Let me know. If government of India's borrowings become higher and higher, what will happen to interest rates in the market? Will the interest rates in the market go up or go down? What do you think should happen? Should the interest rates become higher or lower? Interest rates should go up. All of you agree? Interest rates will go up. If the interest rates in the market will go up, please tell me, will the private sector be able to borrow at a lower rate of interest or will be forced to borrow at higher rate of interest now? Can I say even the private sector will be forced to borrow at higher rate of interest? Some of us saying lower. How? How, my dear? It's basic supply and demand. It's a basic supply and demand. If demand for money goes up, it's a simple idea. If the demand for money goes up, interest rate should go up. If the interest rates will go up, private sector will also be forced to borrow in the market at higher rate of interest. Now, because of higher rate of interest, can I say private sector, understand this, because of this, can it be said that private sector may reduce its borrowings? Let me know. Because of this, private sector might end up borrowing lesser amount from the market. This is called as crowding out. This is referred to as crowding out. Crowding out. Crowding out means what? Moving away. Investors, borrowers are moving away. So whenever the fiscal deficit goes up, there is a concern that it might lead to crowding out in the market for the private sector. Private sector might crowd out, and if the private sector will crowd out, automatically investments in the market would be affected. That is the precise reason government, in order to control its fiscal deficit, might ask the companies owned by the government itself to borrow from the market, and this is called as off budget borrowing. Now, next very important point. The company ABC or the authority ABC has borrowed, but government of India has told ABC to borrow 300 crore from the market. Now, this 300 crore along with the interest will be paid by government of India itself. This 300 crore, I repeat, this 300 crore along with the interest will be paid by government of India itself. So now please look at the two statements. Let me know whether these two statements are clear to you or not. Statement 1. Off budget borrowing is not considered as a part of fiscal deficit of government of India. Statement 2. Off budget borrowing, it is counted as a part of liability of government of India. Any problem with these two statements? Please do let me know. I'll repeat it. Off budget borrowing, it is not counted as the part of fiscal deficit of government of India. Second statement, off budget borrowing is counted as a part of liability of government of India. Any problem in these two statements? Any problem? Sir, what about interest payment? Government will make the interest payment. The full principal payment plus interest payment is paid by government of India itself. The advantage is that the fiscal deficit of government of India will not change for this year. Can we go forward? Can we go forward now? Now please have a look at it. So whenever you talk about the total liabilities of government of India, The total liabilities. Total liabilities. Can I say public debt is part of liability for government of India? Point number one. Can I say public debt is part of liability of government of India? What about public account? What about the money that is there in the public account? Right, the PPF, EPF, right, or whatever section under section 80C that you contribute, all of them come under public account only. Right, so public account. What about the extra budgetary resources, EBRs? Extra budgetary resources. So the total liability is a component of, or it's a sum total of 1, 2, and 3. Right, whereas the public debt is basically how much is the borrowing that the government of India has directly done that it will repay. Can I go forward now? Any problem with what I've discussed? Can I go forward now? Please do let me know. Are Baba, either say yes or say no. It has to be one of the two. It cannot be somewhere in between. Either say yes or either say no. And those who are saying, sir, it is not okay with me, please tell me what is the context. Don't simply say no. Then what is the problem? Where is the problem? You tell me where is the problem. Only then I can address it. Don't simply say no. Last point. Which last point, my dear? Here, extra budgetary resource. It is off budget borrowing. Off budget borrowing, who will repay it? Off budget borrowing, who will repay it? Government of India. And if Government of India is repaying, can I count it as a liability of Government of India? Same thing that I've done. Same thing that I've done. Total liability is nothing but, right, the direct borrowing done by Government of India and other entities which will borrow in the name of Government of India, for which government will provide guarantees. So that is the total liability. Right? That is a basic argument. Now there is one student who says, I'm not audible. My dear, the audio is completely fine from my side. Please hit refresh or please hit the button fix audio. You will start receiving the audio. So this is how total liability of Government of India is generally calculated. Do not by heart these numbers. These numbers are not useful for UPSC. These numbers are not useful. Do not by heart the numbers. Now let me go to the next one. There's a term called as FRBM. Right? There is something called as FRBM. Right? Earlier I have written it in the slide. Now let's start. FRBM. FRBM stands for Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. Now please look at point number 1 and 2. Are the first 2 points okay with all of you? Let me see how many of you remember what we have discussed before the lunch break. Look at the point number 1, point number 2. Are the first 2 points okay with you? That is, we will have to reduce the revenue deficit to 0% and fiscal deficit to 3%. Why? You already know it. Remember this. Why? It should be very clear to you. If fiscal deficit is 3%, and whenever you come across percentages like this, it is always percentage of GDP. Many of you are asking me, sir, percentage of what? Percentage of GDP, gross domestic product. So we will have to reduce the revenue deficit to 0% and fiscal deficit to 3%. Right? Why? What is the use of this? Why should we reduce it? If I have a revenue deficit of 0 and fiscal deficit of 3%, it simply means we are borrowing money. We are borrowing money from the market, but it is not to bridge the revenue deficit, but it is for capital expenditure. We want to use it for capital expenditure. And I have told you earlier also, it is better to have a expenditure under the head of capital expenditure compared to, right, having a revenue deficit. Because under revenue deficit, we are not adding any kind of assets in the economy. Whereas under the capital expenditure, assets are added to the economy, right? In order to achieve this, how much should be the reduction? The FRBM Act was introduced in the year 2003. How much should be the annual reduction? Annually, it was recommended that we should reduce the fiscal deficit by 0.3% and we should reduce the revenue deficit by 0.5%. This was the target that was given. But over a period of time, what happened? Before the lunch break, I said there was a crisis in the year 2008. Understand this. There was a crisis in the year 2008. Just like we had pandemic in back in 2021, there was a global financial crisis back in 2007 and 8. Now, because there was a crisis, I hope you understand at least now, we were not able to achieve these targets within the stipulated time period. We were not able to achieve that. Okay, so first point, second point. The deficits are allowed to exceed targets only under certain circumstances. Important point, understand this. Only under certain situation, we should be allowed to cross the deficit number. Now, what is the meaning of it? Let me give a very simple example. Imagine you are the finance minister for the current financial year. Just hypothetical numbers here. Understand the logic behind it. Let's say you are the finance minister. GDP value is 500 crore, and for this year, the fiscal deficit target that you have decided is, let's say, 6%. Okay? The fiscal deficit target that you have decided is 6%. 6% of what? 6% of GDP. A simple question to you people. Use the GDP number, use the fiscal deficit target. Please tell me what is the target maximum limit of borrowing you are allowed to do this year. Let me know. Right, your GDP is 500 crore. Your fiscal deficit target that you have decided for the current year is 6% of GDP. Now, my question to you people is, according to this, what should be your maximum borrowing allowed for the current financial year? All of you will agree? 30 crore rupees. Those are answering wrong, please correct it. Correct it. Use calculator, you will get the correct number. All of you will agree, maximum you are allowed to borrow is 30 crore rupees. Maximum. But please do let me know, what if there is another wave of pandemic here? Tell me. What if there is another wave of pandemic? What if there is war? What if there is a drought-like situation or large-scale flood-like situation in the Indian economy? In these situations, please do let me know, will you be able to restrict your FD to 6% of GDP? Think of it. Will you be able to restrict your FD to 6% of GDP? That is, can you restrict your borrowing to just 30 crore rupees? Absolutely no. Your borrowings will suddenly increase. You don't trust me, right? There are certain students who will never trust me. Please tell me what has happened in 20 and 21. What has happened to the borrowings back in 20 and 21? Have they remained lower, or did they simply skyrocket because of pandemic? And the argument is simple. If you ask me, sir, why? Why are they increasing? During these kind of situations, your revenue will go down, but your expenditures will be higher. Simple logic. In these situations, your revenue will go down, but your expenditures will remain higher, which means you are forced to borrow more and more from the economy. That is the reason you will see these kind of spikes during these kind of situations. Now, that is the point given in the third one here. That is what they are trying to tell you. You should be provided with certain flexibility. I repeat, you should be provided with certain flexibility as and when you arrive at certain situations, right? There could be certain relaxation in your fiscal deficit numbers. That is, imagine you're the finance minister and there's a pandemic. Don't you want the fiscal deficit target to be changed from 6% to 6.5%? Let me know. Right? Would you not like if your fiscal deficit target is shifted from 6 to 6.5%, which means now you have more space for borrowing from the market. Simple argument. You will have more opportunities. You can borrow more amount of money to borrow from the market. That is the flexibility. The deficits are allowed to exceed targets only under certain circumstances, such as a war, such as crash in the economy, such as a large scale floods, such as a recession in the economy, etc. like this. Point number 4, RBI must not subscribe to primary issues of G security, right? That is basically direct monetization. Any problem with the point number 4 here? That is basically direct monetization, right? Now, please let me know. Did we discuss primary market and secondary market earlier? I'm pretty sure I've discussed, but I want to hear it from you. Did we discuss the concept of primary market and secondary market earlier? Sir, where have you discussed primary and secondary market? The function of RBI. In the functions of RBI, I've explained all of this. If you purchase the instruments directly from the issuer, that is called as primary market. And if you purchase the instrument from anybody else in the market, that is called as secondary market. Done? Right? So RBI is not allowed to subscribe to primary issuance of G security, which is mean nothing but RBI should not purchase it directly from Government of India. They can purchase it from secondary market. Next, under FRBM, the government also says you will have to, that is government has to publish 3 documents. One is called as a macroeconomic framework statement, right? Second one is a fiscal policy strategy statement, and the third one is a medium term fiscal policy statement. Now let me start with the third one here, medium term fiscal policy statement. Now, before you start asking me, let me start with this particular technical term, rolling target. Rolling target. Now, what do you mean by rolling target? Let's say, hypothetically, understand this carefully. Let's say, hypothetically, I am the finance minister. Again, hypothetically, I am the finance minister. I will tell you today when the budget is announced, I am telling you for financial year 24, what will be the fiscal deficit number? For financial year 25, what would be the estimated fiscal deficit number? And for financial year 26, what will be estimates of fiscal deficit number? Now, please tell me, if I've given certain numbers for all the 3 financial years, don't you think after certain time period, let's say after 8 months or after 1 year is over, situation will be different. Hence, numbers will also have to change now. Let me know. Think of it. Right? Situation will become different. Let's say, sir, how they will become different? Let's say right now there is a pandemic, and based on the pandemic, you gave a estimate for 24, 25, and 26. Now, have a look at this. Right? Have a look at this. On 1st of February, on the 1st of February 2024, that is next financial year. On the 1st of February 2024, that is the next year, situation would be different. And when the situation is different, can I continue with the same fiscal deficit target for 25 and 26? No, right? Don't you think I will have to change the target now? Can the same thing happen regarding revenue deficit? Can the same thing happen regarding primary deficit? Is it making sense to you people now? Right? Why this is called as rolling? Why this is called as a rolling? Rolling means as the situation will keep on changing, we'll keep on changing the numbers, adjusting the numbers based on the change in the situation. Hence, this is called as rolling. Hence, this is referred to as rolling. Now, in the context of rolling, I'll add one more concept here. Please remember this. In case of India, we also implemented a plan called as rolling plan. Right? When I discuss 5-year plans, right? Again, this is connected to that. In India, we implemented a 5-year plan by the name rolling plan. Now, please tell me, what do you mean by rolling plan? Rolling plan basically means, have a look at this. In 5 years, for a period of 5 years, we will have 1-year plans. Right? I'll just take a simple number so that you understand. Let's say for the year 2010, hypothetical, because rolling plan was implemented back in 1978. Right? I'm taking 2010 so that you understand. So 2010, 11, 12, 2013 and 2014. Can I say these are 5 years? Let me know. Can I say these are 5 years in a 5-year plan? Now, if it is a rolling plan, if it is a rolling 5-year plan, how we will implement, understand it. Out of all this 5 year, out of the total block of 5 year, we will make plan for every year. We'll make one plan for 2010, another for 11, another for 12, same thing for 13 as well as 14. Now we will implement the plan for 2010, and after the implementation is over, after the 2010 implementation is over, we'll try to find out if we need to make any corrections. If we want to make any corrections, and if there is a required correction, then we'll automatically adjust in the plan for 2011. We'll automatically change the plans for 2011. Now you'll implement 2011, the plan for the 11, and after the implementation is over, now you will again study. Is there any need for correction? Is there a need for adjustment in the plan? If there is a required adjustment, you will make it immediately in 2012 plan. Same thing for 12, 13 as well as 14. Please tell me, can you call this kind of a planning as rolling plans? Let me know. Can you refer to these plans as a rolling plan? Rolling plan means, you have broken down the plan for every 1 year. It's a 5-year plan. But within the 5-year plan, you have broken down the plan for every year. And once 1-year plan is over, you will automatically review and make changes to the second year plan. Once the second year plan is over, you will automatically review, make changes to the third 5-year plan. So based on the experience, continuously you are chopping and changing the plan. That is called as rolling plan. So apply the same logic. The term rolling is same. Changes, continuous changes. Apply the same logic to even medium term fiscal policy statement. That is, government, whenever they announce a budget, whenever the finance minister announces a budget, finance minister will give you 3-year rolling target. Rolling target for 3 years. What is the meaning of it? Based on the experience, these numbers will keep on getting adjusted, will keep on getting changed by the Minister for Finance. Hence, these are called as rolling target. And what kind of rolling targets are provided? For what parameters rolling targets are provided? These are the parameters. We provide rolling targets for fiscal deficit, revenue deficit, debt of the government, the non-tax revenues, tax revenues, primary deficit, etc. That is one statement. Second statement, macroeconomic framework statement. MFS, macroeconomic framework statement. What do you mean by macroeconomic framework statement? Whenever the budget documents are presented by the finance minister on the floor of the parliament, the finance minister also has to say what is expected growth in the industries in the next 1 year. What is expected to happen in agriculture sector in next 1 year? What is expected to happen to GDP of India in the next year? That is basically macroeconomic framework statement, MFS. Statement contains overview of the economy, includes assessment regarding GDP growth rate, the balance of the central government, external sector balance of the economy, etc. That is MFS. Come to the third statement here, fiscal policy strategy statement. Fiscal policy strategy statement. Now, what is a fiscal policy strategy statement? In this financial year, when I'm announcing the budget, in this financial year, what is my area of focus? What areas will be strategy area for me? Am I going to focus on industries? Am I going to focus on financing for the government? Am I going to focus on agriculture sector, etc.? What are my strategy areas which are of my focus areas of this year? This is a fiscal policy strategy statement. So these are the three statements which are published by the government every year whenever the budget documents are produced. Can we go forward now? Any problem with anything else that we have discussed? Please do let me know. There's a student who is facing issue, Niranjan. Niranjan, please get into touch with right the technical team here. If not, right, I'll ask them to get in touch with you. Okay. Okay. Any issue? Latest target of FRBM. What target are you looking? FRBM is a statement. FRBM is a statement. Under that, again, we want to target 0%. If you're talking about FD and RD, we are again focused on 0% as well as 3% for RD as well as FD even today. Okay. Can we go forward? Any issue? On what basis 0.3 and 0.5 is decided for the FD and RD? You want to reduce this RD to 0% and FD to 3% by let's say 2009, and you're announcing that in 2003. So can you calculate? Think of it. If you have 3% RD and you want to reduce it to 0% after 6 years, can you calculate annually by how much percentage will have to keep on reducing? Let me know. Does it make sense to you at least now? Okay. Okay. Let me go forward. Let me go forward then. Now, next point. Right. Next point. You introduced FRBM back in the year 2003. You introduced FRBM back in the year 2003. Imagine you are there in 2020. Don't you think there needs to be a review of FRBM Act? Think of it. You have introduced FRBM back in the 2003. You are there in 2017, 2018, 2022, whatever year you are in. Right? There has to be a review of FRBM document, because what was the situation of Indian economy earlier, it is not the same today. So Government of India has set up an FRBM review committee. This is also referred to as FRBM review committee. Government of India has set up an FRBM review committee, and the chairperson of this FRBM review committee is Mr. N.K. Singh. Now, this N.K. Singh committee has given certain recommendations. Let's look at these important recommendations. Government of India has implemented a lot of them. First one, the FRBM review committee recommended that so far, we have targets for FD as well as RD under FRBM. We have given a target to reduce FD to certain level, and we have a target to reduce RD. But what this committee says is, reduce the fiscal deficit, reduce the revenue deficit. You should also reduce debt of Government of India as well as the state governments. I'll repeat the statement. Understand. Now it should be very clear to you. Debt is different. FD is different. Don't merge both of them. Both are different. So this committee says we are only focused on reduction in FD and RD. But rather than being only focused on FD and RD, we should also reduce the debt of Government of India as well as the state. That is the reason FRBM review committee has given reduction targets for FD, for RD, as well as debt of the central government as well as the state governments. For example, sir, what is the target? Please have a look at the table here. Do not by heart everything that is there. Just to focus on one important point. Extreme left side, can you see a graphical representation? Extreme left side can see a graphical representation here. This graphical representation provides a data for targets for FD, RD, as well as the debt for central government. The committee recommended that from financial year 17, that was the year when the recommendations were given, to financial year 23, we should reduce the revenue deficit to 0.8% of GDP, the fiscal deficit to 2.5% of GDP, and the debt of the central government should be somewhere around 40%, that is 38.7%. Any problem with the recommendation? Please do let me know right now. The committee says do not only just reduce RD and FD, reduce even the debt of the central government. So target that has been given is 0.8%, 2.5%, and 38.7% for RD, FD, and debt respectively. Point number two, even for the states, it was recommended that the debt of the states should be reduced to 20% of GDP. Even for the states, the debt should be reduced to 20% of GDP. So for central government, around 40%, states around 20%. So total, that is the general debt. The general debt for India should be 40% from the center plus 20% of the states, which will take the number to 60% of GDP. Right? So the overall debt for India should be 60% of GDP. Any problem with this statement? Let me know. To achieve the targeted ratio, to achieve these targets, annual targets will be provided. Annual targets will be provided which are supposed to be met by the government, which are supposed to be met by the central government. Second one, third one, there should be a fiscal council. There should be an autonomous fiscal council. Autonomous simply means independent. There should be one authority set up by the government, that is right, an autonomous fiscal council. Autonomous fiscal council will consist of experts, and the role of the fiscal council will be the following. One, the fiscal council will provide certain advice to government of India if they are not meeting the targets. If any policy of government of India is going to increase, let's say the fiscal deficit beyond the target, revenue deficit beyond the target, then right, basically the changes will be recommended. Changes would be recommended by the fiscal council. Multi-year forecast. Forecast means estimates. Financials of government of India for multiple years will be estimated. Forecast will be given by this authority. Improve the quality of data collected by the government, right? What kind of data they are collecting, how they are able to use the data, right? What are the indicators they are using, etc., etc. Quality of fiscal data should be improved. Advise the government if conditions exist to deviate from the fiscal deficit target, right? Fiscal deficit target, revenue deficit target, etc., etc. If the conditions are existing. Now, many of you ask me, sir, what do you mean by conditions? What kind of conditions are you talking about? Just give me a minute. I'll come back to this. Have a look at this. Have a look at this. Can I say government should be allowed to deviate? Flexibility. Government should be allowed to deviate, or flexibility should be given to the government whenever there is a national security issue, whenever there is a war, whenever there is a national calamity, right? There's a collapse in the agriculture sector. Certain reforms have been implemented which have larger implications over government revenues. The economy has contracted, economy has fallen into recession, etc. So this committee says, if 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 these kind of situations are existing, then the fiscal council should recommend government of India to have flexibility in the targets. Advise the government to take corrective action for non-compliance with the targets given under the bill. So these are right. These are basically right the recommendations which have been provided for fiscal council. Now, do we have a fiscal council in India? Answer is no. I repeat, do we have a fiscal council in India? We do not have a fiscal council. There is no fiscal council in India. Government of India has not set it up. Apart from this, what are the other recommendations? Right? What are the grounds under which the targets can be exceeded? Grounds are provided. The committee has recommended that 15th Finance Commission should be asked to recommend the debt trajectory even for the states. For the states, how should we reduce the debt? Right? For central government, there has been a recommendation. This is for central government. Right? The debt should be reduced in this particular target. But for the states, committee says 15th Finance Commission, right, should be giving recommendation to reduce the debt. These are the committee recommendations, or FRBM review committee recommendations, or else NK Singh committee recommendations. Anybody has any kind of a doubt in these statements, please do let me know. Let me know. If anybody has got any kind of a doubt in any of the statements, let me know. Otherwise, I'll go forward. Second statement. Second statement is it has recommended reducing, right? That is in the earlier FRBM, right? Logic is simple. In FRBM, fiscal deficit was the target, revenue deficit was the target, right? Do you remember that? RD should be equivalent to 0%, FD should be equivalent to 3%. Now, this committee says we want to reduce RD and FD, but in addition to this, we should also reduce debt of government of India, right? The debt of the states. That is the second statement. Right, last statement, right? This is basically the 15th Finance Commission should be asked to provide how debt should be reduced for the states. Right, for the central government, can I say this is the debt reduction trajectory? Trajectory means path. Let me know. Please look at the table and participate. If I keep on saying and if you do not answer to me, I will not understand whether you are understanding or not. Can I say, if I tell you annually you are supposed to reduce the debt like this for the central government, can I say this is the trajectory for central government to reduce the debt? So in a similar way, 15th Finance Commission should recommend a trajectory for reducing the debt for the states. That is the recommendation. Okay, done. Let me go to the next concept here. Concept of public debt. We have discussed certain ideas. Let me give you certain factual information. Out of the overall debt, out of the general debt, center plus states, majority of the debt is of the central government. Majority debt is of the central government. If you ask me how much, sir, around 70% of the total debt, that is between center and state, 70% is of the central government. Out of the central debt, only a fraction of it is external in nature. Right? Please have a look at this data. Do not by heart anything, but please have a look at this data. Out of the public debt, how much is the public debt for financial year 22? How much is the public debt for financial year 22? The public debt is 121 lakh crore rupees. 121 lakh crore rupees. Now, out of this 121 lakh crore rupees, how much is external debt? Please have a look at it. How much is external debt? 6.5 lakh crore rupees. Right? Earlier year, 105 lakh crore rupees is the total public debt. How much is external debt? 6.15 lakh crore rupees. Right? Earlier, 85 lakh crore rupees. How much is external debt? 5 lakh crore rupees, which means, think of it and let me know whether this is correct or not. Can I say out of the total public debt, around 5% is external in nature? I'll repeat the statement. As per the latest data published by the government, around 5% of the public debt, around 5%, not exact number. I also know that, you also know this. Around 5% is external in nature, which means around 95%. The remaining 95% is internal in nature. It is internal in nature. This is considered to be a good feature. This is considered to be a good feature. Why? I'll tell you. If the debt in internal market is higher, don't you think the repayment has to be done in the form of rupees? Think of it. Don't you think the repayment has to be done in the form of rupees? Whereas external debt is paid in the form of dollars. Right? Are you allowed to print dollars in India? Are you allowed to print dollars? Is RBI allowed to print dollars? Is right, government of India allowed to print dollars? No. Right? None of us are allowed to print dollars. And the problem is very simple. You are borrowing in a foreign currency. You have to repay in foreign currency. That is much more dangerous compared to repaying in the domestic currency itself. Now, this problem will be multiplied by one more factor, which is called as exchange rate. Understand the second issue related to borrowing in external market in the form of foreign currency. There is an issue called as exchange rate. What do you mean by exchange rate? How many rupees you will have to pay to purchase $1? I hope you understand the statement here. What is exchange rate? How many rupees, that is a domestic currency, you will have to pay to get one foreign currency, one unit of foreign currency. That is called as exchange rate. Now, let me give you one example. Today, you will borrow simple $1 from external market. Let's say $1 is equal to 50 rupees. Today, you'll borrow $1 from external market. Let's say $1 is equal to 50 rupees. After 1 year, you're supposed to repay that $1. What if the exchange rate is 60 rupees? Think of it. What if the exchange rate is 60 rupees? Are you not paying more in terms of rupee? Yes or no? Because of this kind of exchange rate, are you not paying more in terms of rupees? You're paying the same dollar. You're paying same $1 only, but you're paying more in terms of rupees. That is the problem if you keep on borrowing from external market. Right? This can happen, as a result of which you will end up paying more and more rupees to the international market. Okay. The government also has a portfolio of majority long-term or tenure bonds. Point number one, portfolio means a collection. Simple. Portfolio means a collection. Okay. Now, government has a portfolio of majority long-term or long tenure bond. Now, what do you mean by long-term or long tenure bond? Let me give you a very simple example. Imagine you want to take a housing loan. Okay. Imagine you want to take a housing loan. Now, when you want to take a housing loan, there are two options available to you. Would you want to take a housing loan for 1 year, or would you want to take a housing loan for 10 years? Think logically and tell me the answer. Would you want to borrow this loan for the tenure 1 year, or would you want to borrow for 10 years? What will provide comfort to you? Don't worry about interest. What will provide comfort to you? Right? Don't you think 10 year will provide a comfort, will provide right flexibility? Yes or no? Right? Some of you are saying, sir, I want to repay in 1 year. My dear, if you have money, if you have so much amount of money, why are you simply borrowing? I hope you understand my point. If you are able to earn, let's say, 2 crore rupees and repay the loan of 2 crore rupee in 1 year, why are you simply borrowing? It is of no use for you. But think of a common man, my dear. Think of a common man. Aam Aadmi. When people take a housing loan, they will take for 20 years. They will take for 25 years. Their argument is monthly, the burden of repayment will be very less for me. It will provide flexibility to me. In the same way, government has issued bonds in the market. I repeat, government has issued bonds in the market. Now you come across a statement which says lot of these bonds which have been issued by the government are long term bonds. Right? Let's say 10-year bonds, 20-year bonds, 30-year bonds. Now, don't you think if the tenure of the bonds is longer like this, it will provide more flexibility for the government to repay it in a longer duration? Let me know. Does it make sense to you or not? Right? So, the government also has a portfolio of majority long-term or long tenure bonds. Government debt is characterized by low foreign exchange rate risk. Exactly the point I've discussed earlier. The government debt is characterized by low foreign exchange rate risk, right? Because only 5% of your borrowing is external in nature, 95% is internal, right? You do not face a huge amount of external foreign exchange rate risk. And finally, fourth point, India's public debt is much lower than many of the other developed countries' debt. Many countries have a debt of more than 100%. More than 100%. In case of India, right, it is around 80%, around 85%. Initially, it was around 69%. But because of the pandemic, now it is around 85%. So the debt, overall debt in India, it is much, much lower compared to what is the debt for many of the developed countries around the world. Any problem with any of the features or statements given here, please do let me know. Otherwise, this is basically the end of budgeting exercise for you. Budgeting exercise, right? We have discussed a lot of concepts in the budgeting exercise. Please be very, very careful. Important. For exams, this is very, very important. Now, let me go to the next one. Finance Commission. Let me go to the next one. Finance Commission. Right now, point number one. Finance Commission is a constitutional authority. Any problem here? Please have a look at the article number. Finance Commission is a constitutional authority. Under Article 280, we established Finance Commission. Finance Commission, okay, Finance Commission is established by the President of India once every 5 years or whenever there is a requirement of a new Finance Commission. For example, the earlier Finance Commissions have worked from 2010 to 2015. After that, we had one more Finance Commission from 2015 to 2020. Right now, we have one more Finance Commission, which is right working or whose recommendations are applicable from 21 to 2026. So generally, Finance Commissions are appointed and their recommendations are applicable for a period of 5 years. Right? This is the 15th Finance Commission. Earlier one was the 14th Finance Commission. Next one will be 13th Finance Commission. 13th Finance Commission. Okay. Now, if you talk about 16th Finance Commission, if you talk about 16th Finance Commission, can I say the recommendations of 16th Finance Commission will be applicable from 2036 to 2031? Yes or no? The recommendations of 16th Finance Commission will be applicable for a period of 5 years, that is 26 to 31. And if you are reading newspapers, not the ones that I've given, please check later also. The government of India has already announced that this year itself they will basically set up 16th Finance Commission. Any problem in understanding this? Right, this year itself they will set up, right, the 16th Finance Commission. 16th Finance Commission will be set up. Set up means what? Please understand this. Right, some of you will say, but right now 15th Finance Commission recommendations are there. How can we set up? My dear, understand the meaning of setting up. Right, imagine this. The recommendation of commission are applicable for 5 years. Right, that is let's say from 2010 to 2015. Do you think Finance Commission will be established in 2010 only? Think of it. Do you think Finance Commission will be set up in 2010? Immediately they will hand over the report to you? No. Usually 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years prior to the starting of the period, starting of the time, starting of the year, will set up the commission. Now, what the commission will do? The commission will go to that ministry, this ministry, state 1, 2, 3, 4. It will roam around India. Roam in the sense it will consult all the states. And after taking input from every participant, only then they will prepare a report, give it to the government. Is the logic okay with all of you? So 26 to 31, next to Finance Commission, right? It is expected to give recommendations for 5-year duration starting from 26 to 31. Okay. Now, Finance Commission generally will consist of 5 people. It will consist of 5 people. One is the chairman, remaining 4 are members of the Finance Commission. What is the work of the Finance Commission? What is the role of the Finance Commission? Point number 1. It will have to recommend regarding distribution of tax proceeds between center and the states. I'll give you explanation regarding this. Understand this very carefully. The most important function, most important by the way, the most important function of Finance Commission is that it will provide recommendation regarding tax distribution between center and the state. Now, what do you mean by this? If you remember earlier, I've told you this concept. Center government will impose and collect lot of taxes. Any problem with this? Central government. Sir, why will the central government do that? Constitution of India, 7th schedule. So central government has a lot of powers, impose and collect a lot of these taxes. Now what Constitution says is, whatever money is collected by the central government like this will be called as divisible pool. This will be referred to as divisible pool. Now from the divisible pool, certain money will be given to the central government and states. Simple. From the divisible pool, we are going to distribute the money to the central government as well as the state government. For example, sir, what do you mean by this? How division will happen? Let's take a simple number. Imagine divisible pool is worth 500 crore rupees. That is, central government will impose taxes, collect 500 crore worth of taxes. Part of this 500 crore, let's say hypothetically, 40% of this finance commission says give it to the states. Now do the calculation. 500 crore, 40% of this will become how much? 200 crore rupees. Any problem here? 200 crore rupees. So 200 crore rupees from the divisible pool will be given to the states. Again, my dear, hypothetically, please listen to my statements carefully. I said hypothetically. Some of you have already attended the classes are correcting me. I'm saying hypothetically. Remaining 60%, 60% will be how much? 300 crore will be given to central government. But now, right, think of this. Now, don't you think there is one more challenge here? What is the challenge? If we are allocating 200 crore rupee for all the states, out of 200 crore, how much should be given to Andhra Pradesh? How much should be given to Assam? How much should be given to Punjab, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Telangana? Now, how much should be given? That is the precise reason the Finance Commission will give you one more formula. Finance Commission will give you one more formula using which this 200 crore rupee has to be distributed between state 1, state 2, state 3, state 4, so on and so forth till 28th state. Any problem with the sequence that I've told you here? Please do let me know. Any problem with the sequence? It's a very simple process. Central government under the 7th schedule imposes and collects a lot of these taxes. Part of these taxes, which is called as a divisible pool, part of the divisible pool will be given to the states, remaining will go to center. Now, who will provide you this division? Who will provide you the division between center and state? This is again provided by Finance Commission. Now, right, whatever amount is allocated to all the states, again we will have to find out a formula to divide it between all the states. Formula is given by again Finance Commission. So whenever the division will happen between center and state, this is called as vertical devolution. This is called as a vertical devolution. And whenever division will happen between the states, this is called as horizontal devolution. This is referred to as horizontal devolution. So look at the first very important point here, and this is the most important function. Right? It is basically to provide formula to distribute taxes between the center, state, and then again amongst the states. Second one, government will provide certain grants to the states. Central government will provide grant to the states. Right? Do you remember the term grant? Please do let me know. Do you remember the concept of grant? Right? A grant for construction of healthcare facilities, grants for construction of schools, grants for construction of roads. So grants are provided from the center to the states. On what basis the grants should be provided? A recommendation is provided by the Finance Commission. Third point, what are the policies? What are the measures? Measures means steps. What are the steps or policies or measures which should be implemented to consolidate, right? To augment. Augment means increase the size. To increase the size of money in the consolidated fund of states, not consolidated fund of India, for states. To increase the money collection under the consolidated fund of the states, what steps or what policy should be implemented? And finally, anything else, any other matter that is referred to the Finance Commission by the government, that will also be considered here. Right, so these are the areas on which the Finance Commission will provide recommendation to the government of India. Next important point, Finance Commission recommendations are advisory in nature. I repeat, FC recommendations, Finance Commission recommendations are advisory in nature. Now, please tell me, if these are advisory in nature, will central government strictly implement all of them? Think of it and do let me know. If these are advisories in nature, do you think central government will strictly implement these kind of recommendations? Absolutely no. Right? Advise. Advise. I hope you understand the meaning of advice. For example, every week I keep on advising you to read current affairs. It is my advice to you. But many of you will simply say, I will not follow. Right? Who are you to tell me? I will not follow what you say. Which means my advice, my recommendation is not binding on you. I hope you understand this. Right? So these are advisory in nature, which means central government might implement them or might implement without meeting the targets given by Finance Commission. Right? So these are some of the important points. Now, come to the economic side of it. Come to the economics side of it. One is vertical devolution formula. One is a vertical devolution formula. Now, please have a look at the evolution of devolution formula. The 11th Finance Commission recommended 29.5% vertical devolution. It was increased to 30.5%, then to 32%. Then in the 14th Finance Commission, it was increased, bumped up. It was increased abruptly to a very greater extent, that is 42%. So 14th Finance Commission, that's the reason they say the vertical devolution formula given by 14th Finance Commission is a watershed movement. I'll repeat the statement. The vertical devolution formula given by 14th Finance Commission is a watershed movement. Watershed means what? The most important one. Very, very important recommendation. And many will ask me, sir, why? Why did they provide this 42%? The Finance Commission, that is 14th FC, was of the opinion that states should not be very much dependent on the central government for the finances. I hope you understand this. States should not be overly dependent, should not keep on asking for the center for financial assistance. So how can we reduce this dependence? Increase the allocation. Increase the allocation so that the states will not keep on asking for the funds from the central government. That is the precise reason it has been increased to 42%. And now many of you will start asking me, then why it has been reduced to 41%? Why it has been changed to 41% in the next Finance Commission? The Finance Commission says when the 14th FC was given, or when 14th FC recommendations were implemented, Jammu and Kashmir was a state. And now Jammu and Kashmir is not a state. It is basically two union territories. Because of that, don't you think number of states have come down? Allocation also has been reduced by the 15th Finance Commission or adjusted to 41%. Right, so this is vertical devolution formula given by 15th FC. 15th FC. Now come to the table here. If you ask me, sir, should I buy heart the whole table? My recommendation is same again. Do not buy heart the whole table. Please do not waste your time. Do not buy heart the whole table. Not important. Whole table is not important. Then what is important within the table? I would simply say focus on the last column. I would simply say, please focus on the last column. This is as per 15th FC recommendation. So now we have understood vertical devolution formula is how much? 41%, which means all the states collectively will get 41% from the central divisible pool. Remaining 59% will go to whom? Remaining 59% will go to central government. Now the next question is, out of this 41%, how much will Karnataka get? How much will Uttar Pradesh get? How much Bihar, Assam, Manipur, etc., etc., right? How much all of these will get? That is dictated by the concept of horizontal devolution formula. Horizontal devolution formula. Now, please understand my point very carefully here. Understand what I'm trying to convey to you people very carefully. Many of you will start doing PhD in the table. Sir, I want to know right? What is income distance? I want to know what is fiscal capacity distance. I want to know what is fiscal discipline. I want to learn everything. My dear, this is only for 4 finance commissions. Only for 4. How many finance commissions have been set up so far in India? 15 finance commissions. Now, do you think parameters will remain same for all the finance commissions? Think rationally here. Always think rationally. 15 finance commissions. Do you think all the 15 finance commissions parameter will be same? In all the 15 finance commissions, same thing will be considered? No. Does it mean you'll have to buy heart everything regarding all 15 FCs? Now answer this question. Does it mean you'll have to buy heart everything regarding all the 15 finance commissions? No. Don't waste your time. I told the same thing to even last year. Trust me, I told the same thing even to the last year. I said last year batch also, I said, don't worry about anything in this. Simply by heart this column. By heart this column. For what it is there, simply by heart this column and check the previous year question paper. That is the month of May. Please check the civil services examination prelims question paper. You will see a question asked on this only. They simply ask the question, which of the following parameters are considered in a horizontal devolution formula? Check it. Check it. I know many of you will not believe me. You check it. In this year, the same question asked by UPSC. Which of the following are part of the horizontal devolution formula of 15th Finance Commission? So you also don't waste your time. Now, question has been asked. Can they twist the question? Right? Can they twist the question? Right? Yes, they can twist the question. How? This year the question was, which of the following are the parameters within horizontal devolution formula? Next year, can they ask a similar question, that is, arrange the following parameters in the horizontal devolution in decreasing order of the weightage? Let me know. Arrange the following parameters within the horizontal devolution formula 15th FC in decreasing order of weightage. Can this be asked in UPSC? Increasing order of weightage. Can they ask you in UPSC? Of course, yes. They can ask you these kind of questions now. So my recommendation is by heart, simply by heart. And whenever you are by hearting, 6 parameters are there. There are 6 parameters. Whenever you are by hearting, either by heart them in decreasing order or increasing order. I will give you in decreasing order. Income distance has the highest weightage of 45%. After 45%, the second highest is the population, right? The population as well as the area of a state, 15%. The third highest is 12.5%, that is a demographic performance. The fourth highest is a 10%, that is a forest cover. And right after that, we have 2.5%, right? That is 2.5%, that is a tax effort. Done. So these are the parameters. These are the 6 parameters which are there in the horizontal devolution formula of a 15th Finance Commission. Anybody has got any kind of a doubt? Please do let me know. Anybody has got any kind of a doubt regarding this? Please do. Anybody has a doubt? Please do let me know. Now, despite saying this, some of you are asking, you're simply wasting your time, my dear. You're simply wasting your time. Sir, what is fiscal capacity distance? What is income distance? What is forest cover? Why? I know that, right? I know, I've read it. You don't have to worry. For example, they'll say income distance is like this. Think of it. I'll give you a definition. Even if you don't understand it, don't worry. Nothing wrong with that. What is income distance? Income distance refers to the distance, that is the difference between the per capita incomes based on the gross state domestic product of the state with higher GSDP with lower than that. Any problem? Even if there's a problem, don't worry. I'll repeat the statement again. What is income distance? Income distance measures what is the state with the highest gross state domestic product per capita with other states. How much is the difference? That is income distance. And that is not just for 1 year. They will calculate for 3 years. Now tell me, Do you need all of these formulas? Right, not required. I will not write it because you will focus on that and start by hearting. I will not write any formulas regarding this. Waste of your time, waste of my time as well. Don't waste time. UPC will not ask you all of this. Now, right, some of you are asking what is the importance of weightages here. If you see, some have been given weightage of 15%, some have been given weightage of 45%, some have been given weightage of 12.5%. What is the importance? Right? How do we use all of these weightages in allocation of funds to the states? I will show you the calculation. I'll come back to this. I will show you the calculation. Is it needed for UPSC prelims or mains? Absolutely no. It is not required. But many of you will have this kind of a doubt. How weightages are relevant? Why some of the southern states are worried about funds they are going to get under horizontal devolution? You should be able to get the basic idea. Now, please understand this. Please listen to me carefully here. I will give you a hypothetical calculation. Do you understand hypothetical? I will give you a hypothetical calculation wherein, let's assume, only two states are there and the Finance Commission has given recommendation on only two parameters. Only two parameters have been used to provide recommendation. Let's say the total transfer to the states is 100 crore rupees. Total amount that should be given to the two states is 100 crore. The population has been given the weightage of 40%. Area of the state has been given a weightage of 60%. Now, is the logic okay? The 100 crore will be divided into two parts, 40% as well as 60%. Step number one. That is for area. Area, I will give 60 crore rupees. And for the population, I will give 40 crore rupees. But now question arises. Area of a state 1 is different. Area of a state 2 is different. How funds would be allocated? Let's say state 1 has area of 20% and remaining 80% area is in the second state. Now take 60 crore rupees. Can you divide 60 crore rupees into 20% and 80%? Please look at the calculations. Right? Can you divide the 60 crore rupees into two more components, that is 20% and 80%? So 20% of 60 crore will go to state 1 and 80% of 60 crore will go to state 2. Now 40 crore has been allocated for a population. State 1 has a population of 30%, 30% of total population. State 2 has 70% of total population. Now take 40 crore, divide that into two parts, 30% and 70%. So first state will get 12 crores, second state will get 28 crore. Now this is how funds will be utilized, right? This is how, right, the horizontal devolution formula will be utilized to provide the funds for different states. Now based on this itself, based on this and this argument, look at it and please do let me know. How much is the weightage given for population in the 15th Finance Commission? Let me know. Question number 1 to you. Right? How much is the weightage given by the 15th FC in the horizontal devolution for population? 15%. Straightforward question. 15%. Point number 2. Between, let's say, a state such as Uttar Pradesh and, let's say, Andhra Pradesh. Tell me which of the two states will get more funds because of population weightage. Tell me now. Very simple argument. Between Uttar Pradesh and Andhra Pradesh, which of the state will get more funds? Between Uttar Pradesh and, let's say, Kerala. Between UP and Karnataka. Between UP and Telangana, etc. Right? Which state do you think will get more funds? Of course, it has to be Uttar Pradesh. It has to be Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh will get more funds. Bihar will get more. Rajasthan will get more. Now, think of this argument. These states which will start losing out, they will argue that, are we giving incentives Because the states are not able to control their population. Look at their argument. Are we now giving more money to the states because they are not able to control population? They are not able to control population. That is their problem. So are we providing more money? If the states will have more population, then why should we control population in our states? Tell me. Right? Don't you think these states will argue? Are we doing something wrong by promoting right population control? Right? Why should we be penalized? This is the argument of these states. Any problem here? Any problem? Please do let me know. The southern states, northeastern states, they will get very less amount of money because of the population criteria. Whereas some of the most populated states will get huge amount of money. And look at the second argument here. Look at the second argument. If you look at the contribution to the GDP, don't you think lot of GDP contribution will come from Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, right, Tamil Nadu? Any problem with this? I'll repeat the statement. If you look at contribution to the GDP, don't you think these states such as Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, etc., will contribute huge amount to the GDP? Of course, yes. But when it comes to devolution of taxes, these states will not get huge amount of money. Other states will get more amount of money. Right? That is the precise reason some of these states are not happy how horizontal devolution is done in India. Right? Any problem here? Please do let me know. Any problem? Right? Next, because of the vertical devolution formula, if you apply it, the Finance Commission says total tax collection between 21 and 26. The total tax collection between 21 and 26, right, will be 135.2 lakh crore rupees. But out of this 135.2 lakh crore rupees, right, please let me know, should we include excise duty on petrol to distribute with the states? Should we include, rather than excise, cess and surcharge? Should the center include cesses and surcharges, right, in the divisible pool? No, we will have to exclude that. So whenever you exclude these kind of taxes, which will be used only by the central government, the divisible pool will become 103 lakh crore rupees. The divisible pool will become 103 lakh crore rupees. And out of this, the share of the states, out of this, if you apply 41% formula, right, if you apply 41% formula, out of this, the share to the states will be how much? 42.2 lakh crore rupees. Apart from this, grants are also provided by the central government to the state government. Total will be 10.33 lakh crore rupees. So between 21 to 26, from the central government, if they implement all the recommendations correctly, from the center to the state, the total amount of money that will go will be 52 lakh crore rupees. Will be 52 lakh crore rupees. Any problem with this? Right? Any problem with this? Please do let me know. Now, how do we use all of this information? Do you remember this picture? Let me see. Do you remember this picture? Before the break, we looked at the picture and I said, do not by heart numbers, just understand the concept. Now, I will identify certain components within the picture. Tell me, does it make sense to you now? One is this. States a share of taxes and duties. Second one is finance commission and other transfer to the states from the central government. Let me know, are these two components clear to all of you now? Right? Why the central government is keeping aside 18 paisa and 9 paisa, that is 27 paisa? Why is the central government allocating 27 paisa in the budget for the states? Is it okay with all of you? 18% is because central government is basically supposed to do tax devolution. 9% because central government has to provide certain grants to the states. This is how every year the budgeting is done by the central government. Okay, this is how budgeting is done by the central government every year. Right, so these are certain important points. Now I've given you what is a vertical devolution formula, and this is a horizontal devolution formula. If you find, sir, this table is very difficult, right, it is confusing, there is no mix and right, there is a mix and match, etc., then my recommendation is by heart this table. If that table is difficult to you, by heart this particular table, right? A simple 6 parameters are there, either in ascending order or descending order. Simply by heart all these 6 parameters. Now, apart from this, what are the other recommendations of 15th Finance Commission? What other recommendations has been provided by FC? Point number 1, FC also has recommended revenue deficit grants. Now, some of you will ask me, sir, what do you mean by revenue deficit grant? Let me explain here. Central government has a revenue deficit. Just like central government, can I say states will also have revenue deficit? Let me know. Just like the central government, can I also say that states will also have revenue deficit? Point number 1. Point number 2. Please do let me know. One state such as Maharashtra. One is a state such as Maharashtra, and the other one is, let me take an extreme example, a northeastern state. Northeastern state. Now, please tell me, between Maharashtra and a northeastern state, which of the two states do you think can generate more of its revenues? Think of it. Think of the logic behind this. I've given you two examples, Maharashtra and northeastern state. Any of the northeastern states. Why I'm saying northeastern states? Industrialization is very, very weak in northeastern states. If you compare it to other parts of India, you take, let's say, Gujarat, you take Maharashtra, you take Tamil Nadu. Can you imagine the kind of industries which are set up here and the kind of industries which are set up in northeastern states? So now, is the logic okay? Right here in this example, northeastern states will find it very difficult to generate their own revenues. Now tell me, if both of the states have revenue deficit grant, should government of India provide grant to, sorry, if both of the states have revenue deficit, should center provide revenue deficit grant for both of them? Is it fair? Does it represent equity? Now, based on this, can we say, sir, central government should not be providing grant to the Maharashtra state because they have a huge amount of revenue capacity. But apart from this, if you look at northeastern states, they will generally struggle to generate revenues. So deficit grant should be provided to northeastern states. All of you will agree with my statement here? Anybody is disagreeing? I'm just giving you an example. I'm just giving you an example. Right now, that is the reason there are many states in India which Finance Commission will identify and tell the central government the revenue capacity for these states is weaker, hence provide revenue deficit grant. Hence provide them with revenue deficit grant. Right, so for 17 states to begin with, 2.9 lakh crore rupee has been recommended by the Finance Commission. Apart from this, certain sectors have been identified, and Finance Commission says grants should be provided to the states to develop these sectors. For example, right, Pradhana Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana roads, PMJSY, Pradhana Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, right? That is, it was actually implemented during the earlier NDA government when Mr. A.B. Vajpayee was the Prime Minister. Right, villages, right, were given with proper road connectivity. They were constructed, provided with proper road facilities under the scheme by the name of Pradhana Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Now, to maintain the road, certain grants have to be provided. To develop judicial infrastructure, grants have to be provided. To promote agriculture sector, to promote education, to promote healthcare sector, right, to promote schooling in rural areas. So 8 sectors have been identified, and in 8 of these sectors, grants have to be provided worth 1.3 lakh crore rupees. Certain states will be identified, and to develop infrastructure in these states. Only for specific states, right, certain amount of grant will be provided. State specific grants around 49,600 crore. Grant to local bodies will also be provided. Panchayat, municipalities, right, etc. Local bodies will also be provided with grants 4.3 lakh crore rupees for a duration of 5 years. And finally, for disaster management, the Finance Commission also has recommended 1.6 lakh crore worth of grants. 1.6 lakh crore worth of grants. Now, apart from this, these are grants, right? Earlier slide, only grants. What kind of grants have been provided? Now, what about the fiscal roadmap? The states and center should stick to the debt level recommended under FRBM Act. Do you remember FRBM? Let me know. Please do let me know. Do you remember FRBM? Under FRBM, we have given target for RD as well as FD, correct? And we have a review committee, FRBM review committee. And what this FRBM review committee recommend? FRBM review committee recommended that it should be the duty of the 15th Finance Commission to provide a debt trajectory for the state governments. Now, what the 15th FC says is, if I give a debt trajectory, and please understand, this was during a slowdown. Slowdown, after that, we experienced recession. So the review committee, based on that, Finance Commission was supposed to give a plan to reduce the debt for the states as well. But this committee said, no, I will not be able to give you because there is so much of uncertainty. There's so much of uncertainty. If I provide a trajectory, if I give you targets, you'll have to follow them. But if there is uncertainty in the economy, that will affect your functioning. That is the precise reason the commission says that center and states should stick to the debt levels which are recommended under FRBM Act itself. I will not give separate targets. Simply follow what has been given under the FRBM Act. Second, full disclosure and elimination of extra budgetary resources. Second point is important. Full disclosure and elimination of extra budgetary borrowings. What do you mean by this? Follow this right argument, then I'll ask you a question. Imagine Government of India has a fiscal deficit of 3,000 crore rupees. Now, please answer to my question. This 3,000 crore rupees borrowings are done by the Government of India this year. Is it the only liability that will be added to the total government liabilities from this year? Think of this and answer. Right? This will become part of the liability, no doubt. But will the liability just increase by 3,000 crore rupees only? No, there is no guarantee. Why? What if there is extra budgetary resources? What if government will go for off-budget borrowing? And in the off-budget borrowing, government will ask the entities to borrow another 3,000 crore rupees, which means the total liability of Government of India, total liability will increase by 6,000 crore. But when you look at the fiscal deficit, it will simply say that they have borrowed 3,000 crore rupees. Right? And in the market, when government will keep on targeting fiscal deficit and market will look at the fiscal deficit, please tell me, is it not misrepresenting its total change in the liabilities? Let me know. Is it not misrepresenting? Is it not right showing? Can this be said that government is not completely transparent in terms of right how much is its liability in terms of borrowing over a period of time? Right, market participants may or may not come to know how much is the total borrowing done by the government, how much is the total addition to the liabilities, as long as government will not publish the data after 6 months, after 8 months, etc. So what should be done? Go for full disclosures. If you borrow through fiscal deficit, disclose it. If you borrow through off budget borrowing, that also you disclose it, so that there is a transparency maintained in the economy. There is transparency in the process. And have a look at this. Over a period of time, eliminate the concept of extra budgetary resources. Eliminate it. Do not keep on using this tool. That's the second recommendation. Set up an expert panel to recommend framework for a very good qualitative public financial management system. Right? Set up an expert panel which will give you recommendation as to how or what system you should use for maintaining public financials. Now, many of you ask me, sir, what do you mean by public financial management system? Let me give you one example. Right? I'll give you one example. Right? What do you mean by public financial management system? I'll give you one example. Government of India already, right now, has a system by the name of PFMS. Look at this. Government already right now has a system by the name of PFMS, Public Financial Management System. Now, what is the role of the Public Financial Management System? Under Public Financial Management System, you can get the data. You can get the data regarding how much is the total expenditure incurred by the government under various schemes. Under various schemes, how much money has government of India spent? You can get the data very quickly using public financial management system. Now, within the scheme, how much money was spent on state X, how much money was spent on state Y, how much money was spent on state Z, etc. Very quickly, government of India can collect the data. Very quickly. Let me give you another example. Under the public financial management system, what government of India has done is, it is transferring funds whenever the subsidies are supposed to be provided. Whenever subsidies are supposed to be provided. Sir, what do you mean by subsidy? All of you heard of LPG subsidy? Let me know. All of you heard of LPG subsidy? Right? Under LPG, we are providing subsidy. Government is providing subsidy for LPG connections. So these kind of subsidies will quickly be transferred through PFMS. Right? Using PFMS, the government will identify the beneficiaries and quickly into their bank account, the funds will be transferred. This is basically the use of public financial management system. Now, what is the use of all of this? Why should you learn all of this? If you are the Prime Minister, can you find out the data regarding any scheme at any point of time in order to make new schemes? Let me know. Can this system help you in that? Can you find out how much money the central government is spending in one state under LPG subsidy? Sir, what is the use of all of this? Don't you think this kind of a data will help you in efficient implementation of policies, efficient formulation of the policies, as well as implementation of the policies? So that is the reason this commission says, right, set up an expert panel. Set up an expert panel which will give you recommendations regarding developing very good public financial management system. Okay. Now, apart from this, taxation. In case of taxation, what the committee has recommended, what the 15th FC has recommended, one, broaden the tax base. Let me know, did we discuss the term tax base earlier? Let me see how many of you remember. Broaden tax base. If you broaden tax base, what will happen to the tax revenue collection of government? What will happen to tax revenue collection of the government? Don't you think if you broaden the tax base, the taxes collected should keep on increasing? That's a basic idea. Streamline the tax rate. For example, we need to address challenges in the GST rate. We have multiple rates under GST. We need to rationalize it. What about capital gains tax? We need to rationalize even the capital gains tax. So streamline the tax rates for various types of taxes in India. Increase the infrastructure, increase the systems, train the tax officials so that they will become more efficient. It will help us having a transparency. It will help us holding them more accountable, etc. There are also challenges in the GST, right? A lot of revenue, right? In the last couple of years, there has been a huge difference in what was the targeted revenue and how much was the revenue collected. There is a shortfall in the GST revenue collection. We should address it. We need to address the issue of high fluctuations in the GST collections. GST collections are not uniform. These are volatile. Volatile means fluctuate. Fluctuate a lot. Fluctuation is never good. We should stabilize the GST revenue collection. Right. So these are some of the recommendations given in the form of tax reforms. And finally, in case of defense, what recommendations have been provided? Right. The recommendation is that we should have one fund. We should set up one fund by the name of Modernization Fund for Defense and Internal Security. I repeat, we should set up one fund for defense sector, MFDIS, Modernization Fund for Defense and Internal Security. The Hindi version of it, the Hindi name for this is Rashtriya Suraksha Naivedyam Kosh. Now, sir, from where we will get the funds here? From where we will get the money to keep in MFDIS? Government says, sorry, the commission says, from the Consolidated Fund of India. From the Consolidated Fund of India, government can transfer certain amount of money. Point number one. Point number two, imagine there is a defense land. Imagine there is a defense land. This defense land will be given on lease to the state governments. Now, whatever money you are going to collect from leasing out this defense land, you should transfer it into MFDIS, Modernization Fund for Defense and Internal Security. Third, if there is a company, defense company owned by Government of India, if there is a defense central public sector enterprise, and the government will privatize it, government will sell the ownership to a private sector, then the money that is collected should be transferred into MFDIS. So these are the different sources. The funds can be utilized to create one more fund, MFDIS. Now, what is the use of these funds? How can we use these funds? Point number one, we can make capital investment in defense sector to modernize the defense sector. Second, we can also make investment in CAPFs, right? That is central police forces, and modernization of state police forces, which are identified by Ministry of Home Affairs. MHA. MHA stands for Ministry of Home Affairs. A small part of this fund can be set up as a welfare fund, which can be used for our soldiers, paramilitary personnel, etc. So these are some of the recommendations. Do we have MFDIS today in India? Government of India so far has not set it up. Done. So these are some of the recommendations of 15th EFC. Anybody has any kind of a doubt now? Please do let me know. Anybody has any kind of a doubt regarding all the things that we have discussed now? Because this is the end of the chapter with you. This is the end of the chapter for you. Any kind of a doubt? LPG subsidy, it's just increased the cost of all of sudden and provided subsidy. It's just like taking money from the public and transferring to them again. Is this called subsidy? No. Right? It's not how subsidy will work out. We will understand it later. Please don't worry. We'll understand it later. Don't worry. Grant is given based on 6 parameters, not on 6 parameters. Under these 6 areas, grants are provided. If you remember earlier, one of the areas where Finance Commission will give recommendation to the center is that on what areas, in what areas, under what situations, center should provide grants to the state. And as per the 15th Finance Commission, the total amount of grant that will flow from the center to state is around 10 lakh crore rupees. And if you look at the slide, I've simply given you the breakup of what kind of grants will be given. Okay. Okay, anything else? Adjust plan decision will be taken from finance minister or any other person who will be part of these decisions. It is generally, if you're talking about the rolling targets for 3 years, it will be done by the finance ministry. It is done by finance ministry. Any other questions? Any other questions anybody has? Please do let me know. MFDIS, Modern Fund for Defense and Internal Security. The commission says set up a fund, and money for this fund you will get it from these sources. Right? Public sector company, defense sector is sold by the government. Take the money, put it here. From Consolidated Fund of India, transfer money. And what is the use of the fund? You can use the fund to promote modernization in defense sector, to provide welfare to the army, right? Other defense personnel, etc. Okay. So local bodies, panchayat, yes. When you read polity, you'll come across this. What kind of local bodies we have? Panchayats, right? The sabhas at the lowest level, municipalities, etc. Okay. Any other issue? Possible challenge for 16th FC. My dear, I've given the article. Read it. If you want me to do everything, what will you do? I know what are the challenges, but you read the article. No, you should be able to understand all of that. That is your challenge, my dear. You want me to read everything. You don't want to read everything. Okay. Anything else? Anybody has any kind of other question? How can we know which are the recommendations given by FC accepted by the government? Government will give all this information either in the economic survey or in the budget or, right, let's say in the parliament. Now let me know how many of you are watching news, how many of you are reading newspaper. Has the monsoon session started in the parliament? Think of it. Has the monsoon session started in the parliament or not? Yes or no? How many of you have known this? How many of you are observing what is happening in the monsoon session? Some of you are saying no. My dear, parliament session is going on or not? Those who are saying no, right? My dear, I'm concerned about you people. Those who are reading, right? Very good. Very good. I'm happy with you people. Those who are saying no, what is it that you're reading in the newspaper? I'm concerned with you people actually. What is it that you're reading in the newspaper? Where do you think no confidence motion was accepted by the speaker? Do you think that was accepted in a hotel? In a restaurant? Arey Baba, kahan ho aap? What are you reading? Read. Get serious now. Get serious. Right? Hardly 1 year is there. Get serious. Start reading seriously. Okay? Done. So let me go forward here. Let me go forward. In parliament, all of these discussion is given. In fact, I told you to read one article. Right, in the first session, I told you to read one article from today's Hindu, that is regarding regional connectivity scheme, RCS. Correct? Did I tell you or not? I gave you a list of 3 articles from Hindu newspaper today. Regional connectivity scheme was one of them. If you read that article, you will realize that this is the information that the minister has provided when the question was asked in parliament. Right? When this question was asked in parliament, this information was given by the minister only. So that is the reason I'm saying, if your question is, sir, from where do we get all of this data? Your source should be, sir, newspapers. Right? I keep on reading newspapers, so I've come to know that, okay, this is happening, that is happening, this is accepted, that is not accepted, etc. Okay, done. Any other question? Any other question? Let me know. Any other question? And by the way, I've activated the call feature also. If you have got any kind of question, please feel free to call me up and ask me. I will not scold anyone. Trust me, I will not scold anyone. Right? If I know the answer and if the question is relevant, I'll definitely answer to your questions. Nobody wants to talk. Huh? Sir, I have a doubt in PYQ 2021 that India has recently faced V-shaped recovery. Give support for your answer. Yeah. Read newspapers, right? Has India experienced V-shaped recovery or W-shaped recovery? You tell. Okay. Any other questions you people have? Otherwise, we can take a small break now. If you do not have any questions, we can take a small break. The recommendations of FC was passed over to the Finance Ministry for implementation. Is there any other authority to whom responsibility of implementation is given? No. Generally, it is taken collectively by the government. Government will decide, should we accept it, should we not accept it. right? And please understand this, central government will never say we are not accepting it. They'll simply say this one we will accept, this one will accept, this one will accept, remaining are under consideration. Okay, anybody else has a doubt? Done then. Let's take a break. Let's take a break then. Time is 4:20. We'll restart the discussion again at 4:30. We'll restart the discussion again at 4:30. Take a break now. Okay. Welcome back. Am I audible? Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. Am I audible? Yes, no, right? Somewhat, somehow. Okay, great. Let's start then. So, questions are there, right? From the previous chapter, questions are there. We'll discuss them today itself. Don't worry. We'll discuss them at the end of the session. We'll discuss, right? Not now. Let me go to the next chapter. Concept of financial market. Next is a very important concept of financial market. Now, what we will discuss in the financial market, this is a list of the topics. List of the topics, please have a glance. Do not by heart the list. UPSC is not going to ask you the list. Now, let me start. What do you mean by financial market? What do you understand by the term financial market? Financial market represents, right, a market wherein instruments are traded. Simple. Instrument are traded. Financial market is a place where instruments are traded. Now, what do you mean by instruments here? Have you heard of government securities? Government security is an instrument, right? Have you heard of bonds, corporate sector bonds? Right, these are also instruments. Have you heard of, right, let's say shares of companies, shares of Adani company, shares of Infosys company, shares of TCS? These are also called as instruments. Is the definition okay with all of you? Financial market is a place where instruments are issued and instruments are traded. Now, the financial market is generally divided into two parts. It is generally divided into two parts. One part of the market is called as a capital market, and another part of the market is called as money market. Now, what is the basic difference between a capital market and money market? Point number one, the basic definition. Capital market will deal with the instruments where the maturity period is more than 1 year. I'll repeat the statement here. Capital market is a market where the instruments will have a maturity period of more than 1 year. Whereas a money market is a market where the instruments that are there in the market will have a maturity period of less than or up to 1 year. For example, sir, what do you mean by this? Let me explain this. Right, let me simply explain this. Imagine on one side you're talking about repo as an instrument, reverse repo as an instrument, and on the other side you're talking about government bond. You're talking about government bond. Now please tell me, repo and a reverse repo, what is the tenure? What is the maturity period? For what duration generally, right? We have a repo as well as a reverse repo, right? Is it okay if I say repo and a reverse repo are short term instruments? Anybody has a problem? Please do let me know. Right? Repo and reverse repo are short term instruments, whereas a government bond, it has a maturity period of how many years? You could have a maturity period of 3 years, 5 years is there, 10 years, right? 30-year bond is there, 40-year, that is the highest tenure as of now. 40-year government bond is there. Now please tell me, can I say repo and reverse repo are part of the money market, whereas a government bond is a part of the capital market? Any problem with this statement? Right? Repo and reverse repo is a part of money market, whereas government bond is a part of capital market. Anybody has a problem? Please do let me know. Right now, please do let me know. It's a very basic idea. Less than 1 year, money market; more than 1 year, capital market. Now, for what purpose generally the funds are required? Please understand the difference here. Imagine here is a company. Company will require funds to take care of day-to-day expenditures. Correct? Right? The company will require funds to take care of day-to-day expenditures. And the second, company will also require money for making investment, for making, right, investment in capital. They want to purchase a machine. They want to set up a new manufacturing facility. They want to buy another company. Now, whenever they want money for taking care of day-to-day expenditure, the money that they spend is called as working capital. This is called as working capital. Any problem here? The money that they need to spend on day-to-day basis, right? That money is called as working capital requirement. Whereas the money that they will make in the form of investment, it is called as capital formation. It is called as capital formation. Money for capital formation. Now, why all of this is very important? Why you need to understand all of this? Let me ask a very simple question. Imagine you want to purchase a machine. You want to purchase a machine. For that, you want to take a loan. You want to borrow. Now, simple question to you people. When you want to purchase a machine, you want to borrow for that. Will you go to the money market or will you go to the capital market? Think of it. Answer it. Think very carefully and answer it. You want to purchase one more company. For that, you need money and you will borrow money for that. Will you go to the money market or capital market? Hey, Baba, some of you are saying money market. How? For capital formation, will you borrow from money market where you will borrow for less than 1 year? No, my dear. For any capital formation, any kind of capital formation, you go to capital market. You want to purchase a machine, you want to repay the amount within 1 year. No, you want flexibility. You want flexibility. You want to pay it over a longer duration. You want to purchase a new company. For that, you need money. You want to borrow for less than 1 year. No, you will borrow for more than 1 year. So whenever you have capital formation requirement, you will go to capital market. Whenever you have working capital requirement, you will go to money market. Any problem in understanding the logic here? Deals with a short-term instrument, deals with a medium and a long-term instrument, mainly deals with financing working capital. It will promote capital formation. Financing is done for capital formation. Banks are the most important participants in the money market, right? Other financial institutions. We have banks also. We have banks. We have, right, let's say mutual funds. Today we'll understand what is mutual funds, by the way. Don't worry. We have insurance companies, etc. Right? A lot of participants are there in the capital market. Not much of a participation of retail investors. Retail investors are not mainly involved in the money market. Very less participation is there because very few of the instruments are open to retail investors. For example, please think of it and let me know. The bank as well as the RBI are involved in repo and reverse repo. Are we allowed to participate in such repo and reverse repo transactions? Think of it. The bank and RBI conduct repo and reverse repo. Are we allowed to participate in such transactions? Some of you are saying yes in repo and reverse repo. This is very interesting, by the way. Right? Those students who are saying, sir, yes, between RBI and bank, when the repo and reverse repo will happen, yes, I am allowed to participate. How? You tell me how. The repo and reverse repo are agreements between RBI and bank. How are you going to participate as a retail investor in repo and reverse repo? Please tell me. Right? And again, this is not new. I'm surprised actually. Right? This is not new. We have been discussing repo and reverse repo for last 2 weeks now. You should not have any doubt. Okay, not much of a participation of retail investors under money, but under capital market definitely is. Can you purchase shares of company Paytm? Can you sell the shares of company Adani? Right? Can you do this? All of you, can you do this? Of course, yes. Can you purchase bonds right in the capital market? Can you sell the bonds in the capital market? Of course, the answer is yes. So retail investor participation in capital market is much higher compared to money market. Right? Who is the main regulator of money market? RBI. Who is the main regulator of right the capital market? It is Securities Exchange Board of India. SEBI. Securities Exchange Board of India. This is a basic difference between the money market as well as capital market. Any problem in understanding the difference? Any problem in understanding the concept behind the money market and capital market? Please do let me know. Anybody has any kind of a doubt in this? Are Baba, say yes. What is repo and reverse repo? Last week. This no, should not be a doubt for you, my dear. This is not the right way. Repo and reverse repo we have discussed last week only. It's not as if I'm introducing something new to you. What is repo? Repo means for a short duration. For a short duration, RBI will provide loans to banks and charge a rate of interest that is called as a repo rate. Repo rate. And some of you are saying, sir, I've joined today. My dear, if you have joined today, when next batch the sessions will happen, you please attend it. Please attend it. I did not say that I will not teach you, right? If you miss the previous classes, I can't help it. I really can't help it. Videos are there. Please watch them. But if you want to, right, understand everything from the beginning, next batch, whenever the classes will start, you have the schedule, join the sessions. Okay. Repo is basically this. What about reverse repo? RBI will take a loan from the banking sector for a very short duration, and the bank will charge a rate of interest which is called as a reverse repo. Right? So one is repo, second one is reverse repo. So any problem with the first one here? Under the money market, any problem with the first one? Logic is simple. Is it for a shorter duration or is it for a longer duration? Less than 1 year, more than 1 year. Focus on that. Let me go to the second one. Call money market, then commercial papers, then certificates of deposit, then commercial bills. By the way, you will have to listen to all of them very carefully. I'll tell you why. I will discuss everything regarding commercial paper. I'll discuss everything regarding certificate of deposit. I'm pretty sure there'll be one or two students who will ask me after this, what is the difference between commercial paper and commercial bill? After discussing everything, if you have listened to the lecture very carefully, the difference will be pretty much evident there itself. So my request to you, listen carefully. Let's start with the second one. Call money market. What do you mean by call money market? Whenever one bank, whenever one bank will lend to another bank. Simple. Whenever one bank will give a loan to another bank for very short duration, for very short duration, right? This is called as call money market. One bank requires money, another bank will give money for a very short duration to the first bank. This will happen in a market called as call money market. Now, please understand here also there are two very important concepts. What is the concept here? If you borrow, that is, let's say bank one will borrow for overnight purposes. The bank one will borrow for overnight purposes. Overnight purposes means what? Only 1 day. If the bank will borrow for overnight purposes, right, then this is called as a call money. And if the bank will borrow for more than 1 day, but up to 14 days, I repeat, right, the bank will borrow for more than 1 day, but for let's say up to 14 days, then this is called as notice money. But the fact is simple, it is for a very short duration. Now, second point, if a bank one is giving money to bank two, don't you think bank one should charge rate of interest here? Think of it. If a bank one either for 1 day or 7 days or 14 days, right, whatever the duration is there, if the bank one is giving a loan to the bank two, right, don't you think bank one should charge a rate of interest? Answer is yes. This rate of interest is called as call money rate. This rate of interest is referred to as call money rate. Right, so this is a basic idea of a call money market. So call money market represents a market wherein one bank which has got surplus money, surplus cash, will be willing to lend to another bank for a very short duration, up to 15 days, up to 14 days, like this. If it is for only 1 day, this is called as call money. If it is more than 1 day for up to 14 days, this is called as a notice money. And the lending bank will impose a rate of interest, collect a rate of interest, which is called as a call money rate. Now, let me ask you a very simple question. If the repo rate goes up, what do you think will happen to call money rate? Think of it. If the repo rate will go up, what do you think will happen to call money rate? Should the call money rate also increase or decrease or remain same? Right, all of you will agree the call money rate should also, right, economically understand this, right, basically should start increasing. Why? Either you talk about repo or call money, it is nothing but lending rate. Is it okay? It's nothing but lending rate. That is, one is a lending, the other one is borrowing, and the lender is charging a rate of interest. So if right, the repo rate will increase, call money rate automatically will start increasing. Right? Even if now this is difficult for you to comprehend, right? Let me give you one more sequence here. If repo rate will go up, what will happen to the money supply in the economy? Think of it. If the repo rate will go up, what do you think will happen to money supply in the economy? Money supply will go down. And if money supply goes down and you want to borrow from one more bank, don't you think the other bank, who is the lender here, because they know that money supply is lesser, they will charge more rate of interest? Does it make sense or not? Right? Does it make sense to you in this way at least? Money supply is going down, but you want to borrow money. So the lender will offer the loan to you, but at a higher rate of interest. That is the connection. That is basically the connection. Okay. So the second one is call money market. So repo, reverse repo, and the third one is call money. Right. Let me go to the next one. Commercial paper. Next one is commercial paper. Now imagine here is a company. Imagine here is a company. Now this company wants to borrow for 6 months. Will there be a requirement like this? Of course, yes. Right? They would want to borrow only for 3 months. They would want to borrow for 6 months. They would want to borrow for 10 years also. So let's say there is one requirement. A company wants to borrow for 6 months. Now, one option is they can go to a bank, take a working capital loan. Banks will also provide a loan called as working capital loan. But one more option that is available to such companies is that they can go to the market, issue one instrument by the name of commercial papers. They can go to the market and issue one instrument by the name of commercial paper. Because please understand the difference here. If the company wants to borrow for more than 1 year, can I say they can use bonds? Think of it. That's statement one. If the company wants to borrow for more than 1 year, the company will use bonds. But here the company doesn't want to borrow for more than 6 months. So the short-term instrument they are allowed to use is called as commercial paper. Concept of commercial paper. Now this is point number one, short-term borrowing. Point number two, can you allow all the companies in India to issue commercial papers? Think of it. Apply rationality. Should you allow all the companies in India, any company, to borrow right from the market in the form of commercial papers? No, that's very dangerous. You should not allow. Some of us saying yes. No, my dear, you should never allow. Why? I'll tell you. What is the guarantee that the company will repay? What if it is a fraud company? I hope you understand this. Right? Are you sure the company will be able to generate sufficient revenues to repay this amount? No, that is the reason. There is one more statement here. Please have a look at this. The companies must have a very good credit rating. I'll discuss credit rating separately today itself, but separately. But the companies must have a very good credit rating. They should be credible in the market. They should be having high confidence, right, from the investor side in the market. Right? We'll discuss what is credit rating in some time. Don't worry. These instruments are unsecured in nature. Right? These instruments are unsecured. Unsecured means what? There is no collateral provided. There is absolutely no collateral provided. Traditionally, understand this. Whenever you talk about commercial papers, commercial bills, etc., etc., these are traditionally unsecured instruments. No collateral is provided. No guarantees are provided. Next, who are allowed to participate and purchase these kind of commercial papers? Individuals such as you and me. The banking sector is allowed to participate. Non-resident Indians, up to certain extent, they're allowed to participate. Foreign institutional investors, etc. These are allowed to participate and invest in the commercial papers. Right. So these are certain points regarding commercial papers. Anybody has any kind of difficulty here? Can I go forward? Anybody has any kind of difficulty in any one of these? Please do let me know. Right. Any points is difficult, very difficult to comprehend, right, etc. Next one is certificate of deposit. Credit rating I'm yet to discuss. Have patience. I've told you this. Credit rating I'll discuss separately. Credit rating simply, right, if you want to ask me, credit rating will generally be provided in the form of alphabets. Have you seen these kind of alphabets? Triple A or AA2, right? A1, etc. This is called as a credit rating. Right? What is the idea of credit rating? It represents a credit worthiness of a borrower. For example, do you remember CIBIL score? Let me just give you a parallel to this. Do you remember CIBIL score? What does the CIBIL score represent? What does CIBIL score represent? CIBIL score represents whether the borrower is a good borrower or a very bad borrower. In simple terms, in the past, when you have taken the loans, have you paid the loans promptly? Have you delayed the payments? Have you defaulted on the payments? Have you stopped making a payment? That is represented in the form of CIBIL score. The same idea, same concept you apply to a company. Same logic you apply to government. That is called as credit rating. Right? Again, more on this we'll understand when I take up credit rating separately. Okay. So these are unsecured instruments. No collateral is provided. Right. So these are certain features related to that. Let me go to the next one. Certificate of deposit. Certificate of deposit. Certificate of deposits are issued by financial institutions such as NABARD has issued certificates of deposit. Many of the banks in India have issued certificates of deposit. Now, why do they issue certificates of deposits? They want to borrow money for less than 1 year. Simple idea. They want to borrow money for a period less than 1 year. That is basically the idea of a certificates of deposit. That is point number one. Issued by financial institutions such as scheduled commercial banks, all India financial institutions such as NABARD, regional rural banks, small finance banks, etc. These are of short duration. These are having short duration. Short duration means what? 3 months, 6 months, but yes, less than 1 year. These are tradable or transferable. What do you mean by tradable or transferable? If I have purchased a certificate of deposit, I can sell it to you. Simple argument, right? If imagine from one of the small finance bank, I have purchased a certificate of deposit. I can transfer it to you. I can sell the certificate of deposit to you. That is the concept of transferability or tradability. Okay. Minimum amount of investment to purchase a certificate of deposit is 5 lakh rupees. Right? 5 lakh rupees. A minimum amount that you will have to invest to purchase a certificate of deposit is 5 lakh. Individuals are allowed to purchase them. Companies, etc., are allowed to invest in such types of certificates of deposit. Any problem here? Can we go forward? Can we go forward? Right? Many of you are asking, sir, why have you written this limit here? Why not in everything else? The reason is simple. Generally, the limit of 1 lakh rupee is kept. Even for certificate deposit, 1 lakh rupee was the limit. But couple of years ago, it has been increased. Certificate deposit limit has been increased to 5 lakh rupees. That is the precise reason why I have specifically written the limit in case of certificates of deposit. Okay. What is foreign institutional investor? My dear, mutual fund company, a foreign mutual fund company. Tell me, can I call this as a foreign financial investor? Foreign institutional investor? What about foreign insurance company? Can I call this as a foreign institutional investor? Of course, yes. How CPs are unsecured? Arey Baba, if there is no security provided, if there is no collateral provided, we call it as unsecured. All these instruments, that is a commercial bill, commercial paper, certificate of deposit, these are generally unsecured instruments. These are generally unsecured because there is no security provided, there is no collateral provided to all of this. Next one is commercial bill. Next one is a concept of commercial bill, also known as a trade bill or bills of exchange. Let me explain this. Right, very, very important. Please be very careful. I'll connect it to current affairs. Let me start. Right, what is this? A commercial bill or right, let's say a trade bill or bills of exchange. Let's start. Now, imagine here is a company. Okay, here is a company. This company will purchase certain raw materials from a very small company. From a very, very small company. Let's say the value of materials purchased by this company, that is a larger company, is 10 lakh rupees. It is 10 lakh rupees. Now, question number one. You tell me, how many of you think that the company, when they will purchase a raw material of 10 lakh rupees, immediately they will make the payment to small company? I'll call this as company A and company B. Think of it. Think of it. Company A will purchase raw material worth 10 lakh rupees from B. How many of you are under the impression that company A will immediately make the payment for raw material? Answer is no. They will not immediately make the payment. Why? They will also say, I've purchased raw material. I want to sell it to a shopkeeper. Shopkeeper will sell these goods in the market to customers and then make a payment to me. So immediately I cannot pay. That is the reason company A will tell company B, please provide me with a credit cycle. Provide me with a credit cycle of, let's say, 90 days. Provide me with a credit cycle of 90 days. What do you mean by credit cycle of 90 days? You transfer the raw materials today, right? You sell the raw materials today to me. I will make the payment of 10 lakh rupees after 90 days to you. Any problem in understanding credit cycle? I'll repeat it again, right? You give the raw materials today to me, right? Sell the raw materials today to me, but I will give the payment of 10 lakh rupees after 90 days. This is called as credit cycle. Now, what if this small company, I'll take dates, I'll give certain dates so that you can quickly understand. Imagine the sale of this raw material has happened on the 1st of January. On the 1st of January. And assuming 90 days exactly are there in every month, can I say that 90 days means January, February, March. So on the 2nd of April, the payment has to be done on this. Anybody has a problem with this? On the 1st of January, if they have purchased the raw material, after 90 days, 2nd of April, the payment has to be done to the company B. But what if I say the company B requires money on 1st of February? Tell me now. What if this company B requires money on the 1st of February? Can they approach company A, seek payment of 10 lakh rupees? Will company A make a payment of 10 lakh rupees? No. Right? No. The company A will say, wait for 90 days. Right? Wait for 90 days. I will make a payment. Now, please understand, whenever such transactions are done, I'm going to point number one. Whenever such transactions are done, that is raw material or goods are sold from one company to another company, that is from trader to another trader, they will write a contract. They will write one agreement. This agreement or a contract that I'm talking about is basically called as commercial bill. The agreement or contract that I'm talking about is nothing but a commercial bill. For example, in this case, right, A will issue a commercial bill to B. A will give a commercial bill to B, which says on the 2nd of April, A will pay 10 lakh rupees. Any problem here? I'll repeat it again. There is a commercial bill with the company B now in this example, which simply says A will pay 10 lakh rupees on 2nd of April. And on this bill, A will put the signature, A will put the seal of the company. Now this is concept of commercial bill. Any problem here? Anybody has any kind of a doubt here? Now come to the second point. I'm saying on the 2nd of April, company B will get 10 lakh rupees. But what if on the 1st of February itself, company requires money. That is, B requires money. Many of you ask, sir, why? Why will the company B require money? What if company B wants to pay salaries to employees? What if company B wants to pay for raw material purchases? What if a company B will basically want to pay money for electricity bill, etc., etc.? Lot of expenditure requirements is there. Now, right, understand this. I'll come to the latest current affairs. Now, RBI has introduced a new system by the name of trade receivable e-discounting system. Traditionally, they would go to a bank. Traditional concept is they will go to a bank, they will pledge this instrument with the bank, take a loan from the bank. That is a traditional concept. Now, RBI has introduced a new system, trade receivable e-discounting system. Trade receivable e-discounting system. In short, this is called as a trades system. Trade receivables e-discounting system, trades. Now, what is this trades? How it will function? Follow this very carefully. Trades is basically a system which has been recommended by RBI. Many private sector companies are implementing this system. For example, there is one company by the name of M1 Exchange. There's one company by the name of M1 Exchange. Now, how the system will actually function? Let me explain. How this trades system will actually function. Now, imagine I'm company A and you are company B. Okay? Imagine I'm company A and you are company B. Both of us are registered in this website. Both of us are registered in this website. Now, let's say there's a transaction that will happen. Now, in this website, in this M1 exchange, you will raise a bill. You will basically generate a receipt or a bill saying that company A owes 10 lakh rupees to you. Any problem with step 1? You will raise a bill, you will raise a receipt in the M1 exchange saying that, right, company A has to give you 10 lakh rupees, has to pay 10 lakh rupees on the 2nd of April. Now, I will authenticate it. Digital signature, I will provide it. Now, look at the next point here. You can wait up to 2nd April, get 10 lakh rupees from me. Wait up to 2nd April. But you need money on the 1st of February. Now, what will happen? I will write the system here. Here is A and B. Now, on the 1st of February, B will sell or transfer this commercial bill to a financier. Within the M1 exchange, there are a lot of financiers. For example, non-banking financial companies. Lot of non-banking financial companies function as financiers here. And what will happen here? Follow the transaction. B will sell this or transfer this commercial bill to a financier on the 1st of February. And the financier will provide money to B but will charge a certain amount. Of course, because they are providing services to you, they will charge a certain amount to the company B. Now, this NBFC, which is acting as a financier, has taken the commercial bill on the 1st of February. They will wait till the 2nd of April. On the 2nd of April, they will provide this commercial bill to company A, and company A will make a payment of 10 lakh rupees to the financier. Is the system okay with all of you? Is the system okay with all of you? Please do let me know. This system is called as a trade receivable e-discounting system. The discount is happening online. Discounting means a value of the receipt. How much value I should be getting? If I'm company B, how much value I should be getting? I should be getting 10 lakh rupees. But right, don't you think if I pay certain charges, the actual value I will get will be less than 10 lakh rupees? This is called as a trade receivables e-discounting system. Any problem here? Let me know. Any problem? Please do let me know. This is important. This is important. Why? Right? Next week, I'll give you these articles. In the last couple of months, a lot of discussion is happening regarding trades system. Lot of discussion. For example, many of you are saying, sir, what if the financier will purchase the commercial bill, but this company will not make a payment on the 2nd of April? They will not pay the amount. Then what? Now, RBI says they've introduced, right, trade receivables insurances. Understand, a new concept is introduced now. New concept, trade receivables insurance is being introduced now. What is the meaning of it? If the financier has purchased a commercial bill, right, and on the 2nd of April, the company is supposed to make a payment and the company doesn't make a payment, now insurance coverage will be provided for this amount. Right, the financiers will be covered with insurance amount now. Now, don't you think if this kind of a facility is provided, don't you think a participation of financiers will increase in the system? Think of it. Right? Don't you think if this kind of a facility is provided, right, participation of financiers, more and more financiers will enter into the system. And if more and more financiers will enter into the system, what do you think will happen to the charges? Don't you think they'll become competitive? The kind of charges they will start imposing, charges will also start becoming more and more competitive. That is the argument. Right now, how this will work out, right? Who will pay? How much should be the insurance amount? It is just a proposal as of now. It is just a proposal as of now. It is yet to be implemented. Once it is implemented, you can read it in the newspapers. Can we go forward here? Any problem with the commercial bill? Can we go forward now? Let me know. Can we go forward? Any problem? What is M1 exchange? My dear, I said M1 exchange is a type of a company which is providing this system. Type it in the Google. No, all of you have Google. Many of you will type from the Google directly as a question, throw it at me. Right? Without reading that, you will pick up the statement, copy paste, give it to me as a question. In the same way, use Google for other purposes. Right? Type M1 exchange, see what you will get in Google. Right? It is a type of a service. M1 exchange is a portal which has been set up to provide right, trade discounting, trade bills discounting. Simple. Okay. Is there any interest earned by financials from this? My dear, you tell me. Is the financier in this example, is the financier earning any amount of money on these kind of transactions? You tell me. Everything is there right in front of you. Everything is there right in front of you. Right? Is financier earning any amount on such transactions? Of course, yes. Of course, yes. A financier is earning amount. What is the amount here? Charges. Right? It is already there right in front of you. Then company B is in loss. How? You tell me. How company B in loss? How do you come to a conclusion that company B is in loss? What is the option available to you? Imagine you are owner of the company. You are the owner of the company. You want to pay salaries. You don't have money. What option do you have? Let me know. Right? What option is there with you? You don't have money. You will receive money on the 2nd of April. Right? Company A says, I will not give it today. You need money. What else is there for you to do? You will have to use these trade receivables. You will have to sell them in the market, get the money, take care of your expenditure. That is how. Sir, I'll take a loan. My dear, when you take a loan, will you not pay interest on it? Think of it. No, at least before answering or asking these kind of questions, think of it. When you take a loan, will a bank give it to you free of a cost? Are they doing charity to you? Of course, no, you'll have to pay interest there. So you're ready to pay interest on the loan that you have taken, But you will say that, sir, by giving certain charges, when somebody will purchase my trade receivable, I'm incurring a loss. How? How does that work out? Right? Both the ways you'll have to pay charges. So think of it. So these are certain instruments in the money market. Any problem? Can we go forward? Let me know. Right? Any problem? Can we go forward here? This is very, very famous now. Trades system is very, very famous. Government of India is pushing public sector companies to be there on the trades system. Because think of this. Don't you think pandemic, point number one, don't you think pandemic has increased the stress on most of the companies in India? Simple question to all of you. Participate, automatically you understand. Don't you think pandemic has increased the pressure, stress on all the companies in India? What has happened to the revenues? Most of the companies' revenues have taken a hit. Now, in this situation, if you're owner of a company, if you're purchasing raw material, what kind of credit cycle would you prefer? Think of it. In this situation, you are owner of a company, right, who is purchasing raw material. What kind of a credit cycle would you prefer? Would you want a credit cycle with a shorter time period or a longer time period? Would you want a credit cycle to increase from 60 days to 90 days or from 60 days to 30 days? What would you prefer? You will prefer higher credit cycle. Now, if you're preferring a higher credit cycle, don't you think more pressure will fall now on smaller companies? Think of it. More pressure will fall on smaller companies. For that, in order to address this pressure that will be felt by the smaller companies, right, we are promoting the concept of trade system. So that easily the smaller companies, there's a technical term here, micro, small, medium enterprise, MSME sector. Micro, small, medium enterprises. In order to reduce this kind of a pressure on MSME, government, RBI, they are pushing the model of trade system. Done? So these are certain instruments which are used in the money market. Again, please observe all of these are basically of a shorter duration. That you need to observe. All of these are shorter duration. And technically speaking, they will use a term called as negotiable instrument. Suddenly, UPSC will throw a term called as a negotiable instrument. Now, what do you mean by negotiable instrument? Negotiable instrument simply means these are the instruments, right, which can be signed and transferred to someone else. Simple. Negotiable instruments means these can be transferred from one to another. These are called as negotiable instruments. For example, tell me now, can I say certificates of deposits, right? Or let's say commercial papers. Can I call them as negotiable instruments? Think of it. Right? If I have a certificate of deposit, can I transfer it to you? Yes, it's a negotiable instrument. I've purchased a bond, I will sell it to you. Negotiable instrument. So negotiable instrument simply means those instruments which can be transferred, which can be traded in the market. Right? Suddenly UPSC will throw the term negotiable instrument and you will get confused. Don't get confused. Okay. So these are some of the instruments in the money market. Come to the capital market. Come to the capital market now. What is a very important feature of a capital market? The most important feature of a capital market is that the companies or anybody who wants to have money for capital formation will approach capital market. Now, there are two ways. Within the capital market, there are two ways. One, basically the argument of borrowing money. First way, in case of capital market, is borrowing money. Borrowing money. First way is basically borrowing money. Second is selling ownership. Selling ownership and getting the money. Sir, what do you mean by this? Let me give you a very simple example. Imagine I'm a manufacturer of this bottle. I have a company. I'm manufacturing this bottle. Now I want money for a longer duration. I want money for longer duration, not for short duration. Why? I might want to expand manufacturing. I would want to, right, purchase one more company, right? I want to produce one more good, etc., etc. Argument is, I want to borrow for a longer duration. I want money for longer duration. Now, there are two ways in the capital market. One way, I will simply come to you, issue a bond for, let's say, 10 years, borrow money from you. Any problem here? One way is, I will come to you, issue a bond with a maturity period of 10 years and borrow from you. That is one way. Second way is, I will approach you and say, invest in my company. Invest in my company. I will give you 10% ownership. Is the logic okay with all of you? Right, I'm talking about two methods. Two methods here. One is basically borrow for a longer duration. Right, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Right, use bonds. Borrow for longer duration. Second is, rather than borrowing, I'm not borrowing. I am telling you, give me 100 crore rupees and I will give you 20% ownership in my company. Right? Don't you think that is also money that I will get? As a company, I will be able to get lot of money for a longer duration. Right? That is basically the concept here. Capital market, that is basically the concept. And whenever you want to borrow, whenever you will borrow, right, you will use a debt instruments, that will happen in the debt market. Right, you will use a debt instrument, for example, bond. Right, please go back to last week's classes. Please go back to last week's class. Right, did we discuss the term bond? Is bond a debt instrument? Right, let me know, is bond a debt instrument or not? So you can use a debt instrument to borrow in the debt market. On the other side, you can sell ownership. You can sell ownership in the company. That will happen in the equity market. So in debt market, right, borrowers will be there, right? Lenders and borrowers, borrowing for a longer duration, lending for a longer duration. Whereas in equity market, ownership is sold. In equity market, ownership is given, right? And money will be taken by the company. That is basically the difference between the debt market and equity market. Now come to the debt market instruments here. Please look at the debt market instruments. Right, I've written bond here. Right, bond is a debt market instrument. Now, whenever you talk about bond, certain important points, let me know, this is basically a revision for all of you. Those who have attended last week, this is basically a revision for all of you. Can I say bond is basically, right, bond is basically a debt instrument. Point number one, it is a debt instrument. There should not be any doubt regarding this. Point number two, right? Point number two, bonds can be issued by the government. Bonds can be issued by the government as well as from the private sector, by the private sector companies. Both are allowed to issue bonds. Point number three, whenever bonds are issued, certain coupon rate is paid, and this coupon rate basically is nothing but rate of interest. Coupon rate is nothing but rate of interest. Okay, now come to the types of bonds. Come to the classification of bonds. Point number one or type number one. There is a bond by the name convertible bond. Look at the name. Please look at the name. There is a bond by the name of convertible bond. What do you mean by convertible here? Convertible simply means, imagine I will sell one bond to you today and I'll tell you after 2 years or after 3 years, this bond will become a share. Is the logic okay here? Please do let me know. I will issue a bond to you today, right? Let's say a company, they will issue a bond to you today. But the company says after 2 years, right? After 2 years, the bond will get converted into a equity, right? That is a share. Can I call such bonds as a convertible bonds? Is it okay? Can I call such bonds as convertible bonds? Second one, straightforward. Straightforward non-convertible bonds. Straightforward non-convertible bonds. Now, what do you mean by non-convertible bonds? Look at the name itself, you'll understand. Imagine Government of India will issue a bond with a maturity period of 5 years. Imagine a government of India will issue a bond with a maturity period of 5 years. Now, government says no conversion is allowed. No conversion. I've issued this as a bond. You will purchase it as a bond, and after maturity period is over, I will pay back, right, the principal to you. Now, can I say non-convertible bonds are those bonds which will remain in the form of bonds till they mature? Let me know, right? You can use the same term again, non-convertible bonds. Many of you will write, these are the kind of bonds which are not convertible. The name itself says that, right? There is no difference between what definition you're writing and what is the name of a bond, right? Don't write same thing. Non-convertible bonds are those types of debt instruments which will remain in the form of a bond till the period of maturity, till the end of maturity. These are called as a non-convertible bonds. Done. Next one is called as a zero coupon bond. Next one is a concept of zero coupon bond. Now, let me take up zero coupon bonds later, right? Before that, let me address if you have any kind of questions, and then we can take a break after that. Okay. By the way, I've activated the live call feature. If anybody has a doubt, please do let me know. Can company invest in commercial papers? Generally, companies do not invest in commercial paper. Institutions invest in commercial papers. The money market rate of interest is more than capital market. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Right? Please understand, money market, right? Demand for the money is very high. Transactions are very, very high. That is the reason there is more liquidity in the money market. Okay. And rate of interest, please understand, it is more applicable to the money market rather than capital market. In capital market, we talk about dividends, right? We talk about yields, we talk about coupon, etc. Okay. What is being sold in commercial paper? Arey Baba, commercial paper itself is an instrument. Commercial paper itself is an instrument. That itself is an instrument. Ajay, please pick up the call. Promissory note is also a negotiable instrument. Generally, yes. Promissory notes is nothing but it is an instrument where one party is promising payment. Simple idea. What is a promissory note? Promissory notes are those instruments where one party is promising payment. That's the reason these are called as promissory notes. Okay, anything else? Any other question? So some more points of commercial bill were remaining. What points were remaining in commercial bills? Let's take it. Let's take it up. If I've missed anything, let's take it up. These are drawn in the name of one business to another in lieu of credit transaction. Please tell me, is it not the same thing that I've discussed? That is, company A, right, is basically signing in one paper which says company A has purchased raw material on credit and will make a payment on 2nd April to the owner of this instrument. Same statement is there. Same statement is there. Nothing else is there. Okay. Are short-term instruments generally issued for a period of 90 days credit cycle. These are tradable and banks do provide credit on these. I told you traditionally these can be taken to the bank and the bank will provide short-term loans, right, which is basically referred as a bill discounting, right? But in addition to that, we have also introduced the concept of trades system here. Is convertible bond only converted into equity? Of course, yes, that is a basic idea. The bond has to be converted into another form of security. Bond has to be converted into another form of security. Where is the other form of security? That is the equity instrument, which will have higher interest rate, convertible, non-convertible. There is no guarantee, right? There is no guarantee. It all depends on who is issuing it, what is the credit rating, etc., etc. There are so many things to consider. Okay. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Apart from what I'm yet to discuss, some of you are asking about equity market. I have not yet discussed equity market. Some of you are asking about stock market. I have not yet discussed stock market. Have certain patience. If you ask me a question about something that I'm yet to discuss, I cannot answer it now. Okay. So commercial paper, why it is not open to everyone? Again, the risk is very high here. How company is not incurring losses in commercial bill topic? Please explain. How are you saying it is a loss? You tell me. Right? Your argument is it is incurring a loss. How is it a loss? You tell me first. How is it a loss? You want to pay salaries? Do you have cash now? Tell me. You want to pay salaries to the employees. Do you have cash? You do not have cash. You want to pay electricity bill. Do you have cash? No, you do not have cash. You want to pay for raw materials so that you manufacture something, sell it to company B. You have money, right? You have money for that. You do not have it. So now my question is, from where will you get the money from? You tell me, from where will you get the money from? You do not have money, my dear. So one option available to you is sell these trades or trade receivables in the market, get the money. That is how the trade receivables will actually work out. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Are debentures and bonds one and the same? Traditionally, again, please understand that area is very confusing. Confusing in the sense there is no uniformity across the global market. In some countries, they have a different definition for debenture and a bond. In some countries, there is no difference. They will call it as a bond as well as a debenture. Right? For UPSC, take it as one and the same. In India, there is no difference. They will either use the term debenture or they will use the term bond. Okay. Okay then. Let's take a break now. Let's take a break. Any more questions? Any other questions? Equity can convert into debenture. Generally, these kind of instruments are not issued, right? You have vice versa. That is, right, a bond can be converted into equity. But sir, company has promised to pay 10 lakh. What company B is getting is lower than a promised amount. Yes, you are right. Company B was supposed to get 10 lakh. From whom? Tell me now. From whom? From company A. But are you selling the instrument to company A? Are you giving that instrument to company A here? No. Company A even says, I will give you 10 lakh. Wait till 2nd April. But you are not willing to wait. Can you understand the logic behind it? You are not willing to wait till 2nd April. So obviously you will have to find out one or the other measure wherein you will get money. So this is one measure. You'll have to pay certain charges for getting right money in the market. There's a very famous statement in economics. There are no free lunches. Very, very famous statement given by one of the Nobel Prize winner. There are no free lunches in the economy. You want to give this, right, a trade receivable to a financier, get 10 lakh rupees. Okay, let's assume. Right, what you're recommending will work out. Okay. B will sell this to a financier, get 10 lakh rupees from the financier. Now, A will pay how much money on the 2nd of April? Think of it. A will pay how much money? Anybody who will give the trade bill to A will pay simply 10 lakh rupees. So if A will pay 10 lakh rupees to the financier on the 2nd of April, will any financier in the market provide this service to you? Let me know. Will any financier in the market, will they provide this service to you if your company B? Nobody will provide the services. Why? I am taking the bill from you on the 1st of February. I gave you 10 lakh rupees. I will get the same 10 lakh rupees after 2 months. What is the advantage for me? What is in it for me? Am I doing a charity here? No. I have to earn certain amount of money on this. That is the reason charges are imposed and collected. And there is no uniform charges also. From one company to another company, it will keep on changing. There is no uniform rate of charges also. Okay, done. Right, let's take a break now. Let's take a break. We'll restart the discussion at 6 p.m. We'll restart the discussion at 6 p.m. Take a break now.